Chapter 2008, Catastrophe. Chapter 2008, Catastrophe. The Emperor's Tomb. The main hall of the immortal Emperor's Palace. Putting away the Jade Talisman, Su Zimo collected the storage bags of Feng Xian and the paragons of the four immortal sections. It had to be said that there were indeed some good things in the storage bags of these paragons. However, what truly interested Su Zimo was a beast hide. This was what Su Zimo found in Feng Xian's consciousness while retrieving his storage bag. The fact that it was hidden in a secluded place like the consciousness was definitely important. Su Zimo opened the beast hide and took a look. At the edge were the words Divine Elephant Breathing Technique. After pondering for a moment, Su Zimo guessed that this was a cultivation technique cultivated by Feng Xian. Feng Xian's combat strength was not weak. Even if Su Zimo were to face him, it would take some effort without revealing his green lotus true body. Feng Xian was equivalent to being killed by the combined forces of Su Zimo, Yun Ting, and Tang Ziyi, three top black immortals. Although Feng Xian was struck by the time saber and lost 60,000 years of lifespan, he could still receive Yun Ting's heaven-slaying sword chi, and his blood chi was still robust. The reason for that was this divine elephant breathing technique. Let's share their belongings. Su Zimo tidied up the storage bags and came before Tang Zi. Tang Zi glanced at it and said indifferently, "Take that beast hide with you. The rest is mine." Stunned, Su Zimo quickly understood. Tang Zi must have seen that he was interested in the divine elephant breathing technique and wanted to give it up. On the surface, Tang Zi took more things. However, in reality, she was doing Su Zimo a favor. Su Zimo was hesitant. Although he was interested in the divine elephant breathing technique, Feng Xian died in Tang Zi's hands in the end. Logically speaking, this cultivation technique should be given to Tang Zi. "You don't have to think too much," Tang Zi said. "His divine elephant technique conflicts with my immortal whale cultivation technique and can't be cultivated at the same time." The immortal whale was the overlord of the deep sea. The divine elephant was a divine being of the land. There were many conflicts between the two. "Thank you very much." Su Zimo cupped his fists and did not decline. When Feng Xian released his bloodline phenomenon, the phantom of the six-tusked divine elephant appeared and was of the same origin as his innate divine power. Su Zimo was also wondering if he could cause some changes to the six-tusked divine strength by cultivating the divine elephant breathing technique. Now was not the time to cultivate. Su Zimo put away the beast hide and gave the rest of the items to Tang Zi. Right then, Tang Zi suddenly asked, "Why do you know about the spirit vanquishing whip? Who imparted it to you? Who exactly are you?" There was no need to hide the fact that he was from Tianhuang mainland from Tang Zi. Just as Su Zimo was about to reply, he frowned and his expression changed. Something was amiss. The surroundings were way too quiet. Initially, the main hall was filled with the sounds of killing and shouting. Unknowingly, those voices had vanished. It was silent outside the main hall as well. The uneasiness in Tang Zi's heart intensified. Su Zimo looked around with a grim expression. The otherworldly soldiers in the hall were still densely packed. However, for some reason, they seemed to be frozen and did not move at all. The strange thing was that the red lights in the eyes of the otherworldly soldiers flickered as though they could extinguish at any moment. Thud! Suddenly, a sound came from outside the main hall, as though something had landed on the stone steps. It was neither loud nor soft. However, it was extremely clear in the silent hall. Su Zimo and Tang Zi did not feel anything unusual when they heard that sound. However, the otherworldly soldiers in the hall shuddered. What happened? Su Zimo sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness. Tang Zi shook her head gently. Thud! The strange voice sounded once more, and it was even closer to the main hall. The otherworldly soldiers in the hall shuddered once more. Su Zimo released his spirit consciousness, wanting to find another way out of the hall. However, the main hall was sealed and filled with restrictions, as though there was only a single way out. Thud! The strange voice sounded once more, but Su Zimo ignored it and continued surveying his surroundings. Suddenly, he noticed that Tang Zi's expression was strange as she glared at the entrance of the hall in a frightening manner. Su Zimo spun around and looked towards the entrance of the hall. Unknowingly, a figure had appeared there. The person looked like an old man with a pitch-black walking stick in his hands. His black robe reached the ground and was made of an unknown material that looked strange. The old man was smiling at Su Zimo and Tang Zi. His face was filled with wrinkles and his smile was sinister and terrifying. Su Zimo's spirit consciousness scanned the old man countless times, but he could not sense the latter's cultivation realm. However, Tang Zi's expression darkened. "Who are you?" Su Zimo asked in a deep voice. The black-robed old man did not reply and raised his walking stick before lowering it rapidly. Thud. The strange sound rang. So, the sound earlier on came from the black-robed old man's walking stick. This time round, the black-robed old man suddenly opened his mouth. The moment he opened his mouth, the corners of his mouth split. His head seemed like it was about to split open. His expression changed. Right then, the black-robed old man took a deep breath. Immediately after, the otherworldly soldiers at the front fell to the ground one after another, and the red light in their eyes was sucked into the black-robed old man's mouth. Be it the black immortal otherworldly soldiers or earth immortal otherworldly generals, none of them were spared. "It's a ghost immortal," Tang Zi said slowly. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Not long after he entered the emperor's tomb, Tang Zi mentioned to him about ghost immortals. It could be said that ghost immortals were existences in the emperor's tomb that must not be provoked. Anyone targeted by ghost immortals would definitely be doomed. The otherworldly soldiers were formed because the souls of experts did not disperse and did not enter reincarnation. They were fused with many grievances and were gradually formed. One could only become a ghost immortal after cultivating sentience. It could be said that these otherworldly soldiers were food for the ghost immortals. Gradually, Su Zimo understood why it was silent outside the hall. That was because the otherworldly soldiers that charged out had already been devoured by the ghost immortal. The formation at the entrance of the main hall was dispelled and countless otherworldly soldiers surged out. For the ghost immortal, it was a feast. Prepare to escape. Be careful. Just as Tang Zi's imagination was running wild, Su Zimo's voice sounded in her mind. "What are you doing?" Tang Zi was alarmed and asked hurriedly. Su Zimo did not reply. Suddenly, a pair of golden wings appeared behind him, and he released his innate divine power. Turning into a golden streak of light, he sped out of the hall. Trying to flee? The ghost immortal cackled, and an evil glint shone in his eyes. In a flash, he blocked Su Zimo at an astonishing speed that was even faster than the latter. Chapter 2009, Desperate Situation. Chapter 2009, Desperate Situation. Arriving before Su Zimo, the black-robed old man tapped his walking stick gently with a strange sound. Su Zimo shuddered, and his essence spirit shuddered, as though it was about to leave his body. The creation lotus platform spun slowly and rays of light spewed out from the lotus cave, nourishing the green lotus essence spirit and allowing Su Zimo to sober up rapidly. The black-robed old man frowned slightly. Initially, he thought that his attack would definitely disperse Su Zimo's soul. Unexpectedly, Su Zimo was only dazed for a moment before returning to normal and continued speeding towards the entrance. "Humph!" The black-robed old man harumphed coldly with a cold gaze. Leaning forward slightly, he took a deep breath in Su Zimo's direction. Phew! From the black-robed old man's mouth came a whimpering sound that was extremely terrifying, like a child crying. The next moment, Su Zimo's body swayed and his consciousness blurred. His green lotus essence spirit turned hazy and showed signs of collapsing. What was even more frightening was that the green lotus essence spirit was not under Su Zimo's control and floated outside, as though it was drawn in by some power. Whem, Ma, and I, Pa. Suddenly, the images of Buddhas appeared in Su Zimo's consciousness, and he chanted ancient Sanskrit. In his consciousness, a golden light shone brightly and reverberated with a vast and dignified power that was deafening. That was the benefit of cultivating the Prajna Nirvana Sutra. This cultivation technique of the Buddhist monasteries was a taboo mystic classic. It was a supreme dharmic formulation for spirit refinement and possessed unimaginable might. Up till this point of his cultivation, the increase in Suzimo's combat strength was not obvious. However, it protected his essence spirit countless times. Back then, the might of the Prajna Nirvana Sutra was evident when it could fuse the Dragon Phoenix and Green Lotus essence spirits. But now, the Prajna Nirvana Sutra was not perfected, and there were still sutras from 2 tripod walls that had yet to surface. The power currently revealed by this taboo mystic classic was only the tip of the iceberg. The Green Lotus essence spirit calmed down after it was enveloped by the golden light and became pure once more. However, the Buddhist light could not purge away the strange suction power in his consciousness. The Green Lotus essence spirit was still drawn in by that power and wanted to leave its shell. Suddenly, the creation lotus platform shone brightly with a resplendent glow as it soared into the air. The 9 circles of 81 petals closed rapidly and enveloped the Green Lotus essence spirit, severing the suction force completely. Suzimo was invigorated, and the rock wings behind him flapped. Turning into a golden streak of light, he charged out of the main hall and fled into the distance. The black-robed old man frowned. Initially, he thought that he would definitely be able to suck Suzimo's soul over with that single breath. Unexpectedly, Suzimo seemed to be unaffected and escaped after a slight pause, catching him off guard. When he saw that Suzimo had already escaped far away, the black-robed old man thought for a moment and did not chase after him. Instead, he turned around and smiled at Tangzi in the hall. Although one of them escaped, there was another one here. Although the souls of otherworldly soldiers were strong, they could not compare to the freshness of Tangzi. For the ghost immortal, Tangzi's soul was the true delicacy. He. The black-robed old man laughed sinisterly and walked slowly towards Tangzi. Tangzi was severely injured after being surrounded by 4 paragons. Although she managed to recover her mobility after recuperating for a while, it was impossible for her to fight the black-robed old man. Even at her peak, she would not be a match for the ghost immortal, let alone the fact that she was injured right now. The ghost immortals in the Emperor's tomb were tainted by the power of the curse and could not even be touched. How could anybody fight them? Damn thing. What's that stupid smile for? Right then, a sneer sounded from behind the black-robed old man. Turning back, the black-robed old man saw that Suzimo had returned and was standing outside the main hall, looking at him with a mocking and provocative expression. The black-robed old man was enraged. At the same time, Tangzi understood Suzimo's intentions. The reason why Suzimo left first was not because he wanted to abandon her here. Suzimo wanted to lure the black-robed old man away. When Suzimo saw that the black-robed old man did not chase after him, he deliberately provoked the latter by returning. Although the black-robed old man was sentient, he was far less mature than those experienced experts. He was enraged by Suzimo's provocation. "Ignorant ant, do you really think that I can't kill you?" The black-robed old man glared at Suzimo with rage in his eyes. Countless menacing faces appeared on his black robes and roared at Suzimo. Suddenly, Tangzi felt disgusted. If she was killed by humans and her soul was dispersed, at least she would die a clean death. However, if she was devoured by the black-robed old man, her face would appear on this ghost immortal, and she would become one of those menacing faces. Abandoning Tangzi, the black-robed old man slammed his walking stick heavily on the ground and soared into the air, charging towards Suzimo. Without hesitation, Suzimo turned and fled. His current strength was not enough to fight against this ghost immortal. Ooh. The menacing faces of the black-robed old man fell off one after another, turning into menacing ghost faces that chased after Suzimo like vengeful ghosts. In the blink of an eye, Zimo and the black-robed old man charged out of the immortal emperor's palace. Tang Zi was anxious and swallowed another handful of elixirs. Before the medicinal effects could dissipate, she rushed out. However, by the time she rushed out of the immortal emperor's palace, Zimo and the black-robed old man were long gone. Tang Zi clenched her fists with a conflicted expression. She knew in her heart that Zimo could have escaped initially. He returned to lure the black-robed old man away because he wanted to save her. She also knew that Zimo was most likely doomed. There were no living beings in the emperor's tomb that could escape the pursuit of the ghost immortal. Tang Zi took a deep breath and judged the direction before giving chase. Zimo and the black-robed old man moved at an extremely fast speed one after another. However, as time passed by, Zimo could not hold on any longer. After all, he had expended too much stamina in the battle against Yun Ting and the four paragons. Even with the help of the extreme speed divine power, his speed gradually slowed down. However, the many ghost faces behind him closed in continuously and howled, letting out shuddering wails. "I told you, you can't escape." Before long, the black-robed old man's voice sounded in Zimo's ears. It was as though someone had blown a cold breath into his ears. Instantly, Zimo's hairs stood on end. Without hesitation, he summoned the hell suppression tripod and shielded it behind him. However, a menacing ghost face penetrated the hell suppression tripod and struck his back heavily. Although the hell suppression tripod was strong and indestructible, it could not defend against essence spirits and souls. However, the ghost immortal was condensed with souls from head to toe. The ghost faces he released also possessed the power of souls. Bang! Zimo shuddered and spat out a mouthful of black blood. An extremely terrifying power burst forth from the ghost face and surged into Zimo's body, engulfing his limbs, bones, and organs. The coldness was chilling to the bones, and Zimo could not help but shudder. His face was pale, and his lips were purplish as he staggered forward. Even walking became difficult, let alone movement techniques. "I'm probably going to die in the Emperor's tomb today." Zimo's eyelids were heavy, and his vision turned blurry as he sighed internally. He had already used up all his trump cards and was on the brink of death. Now, even the hell suppression tripod could not save him. Chapter 2010, Soul Lantern. Chapter 2010, Soul Lantern. Hee. The black-robed old man's laughter sounded once more. "Stop struggling. Even if I don't attack, you're dead. The power of the curse of the Emperor's tomb has already seeped into your organs and bones after being struck by my ghost face. You're already a dead man." When the black-robed old man realized that Zimo was already a bird in a cage, he was no longer anxious and merely followed closely behind Zimo, smelling the scent of this fresh soul with an intoxicated expression. Zimo bit his tongue gently and tried his best to stay awake. Under normal circumstances, their cultivation realms were very low, and the power of the curse would not seep into their bodies after entering the Emperor's tomb. That was the reason why they had the chance to purge it and survive. Once the curse of the Emperor's tomb seeped into his flesh, he would be in danger. Let alone seep into his organs and bones. However, the black-robed old man was only half right. The power of the curse of the Emperor's tomb had indeed seeped into Zimo's flesh and tainted his organs and bones. But, as though it was blocked by some power, it could not continue deeper. Zimo did not give up. Gritting his teeth, he continued forward. However, the black-robed old man became impatient. Let's see how much longer you can last." The black-robed old man sneered and his black robes swayed. Hundreds of ghost faces fell and flew towards Zimo, drowning him instantly. The ghost faces opened their mouths and bared their sharp teeth, biting Zimo. With every bite, the green lotus essence spirit dimmed. Without waiting for the black-robed old man to attack, those hungry ghost-like faces alone could devour Zimo cleanly. Right then, Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he recalled something. He took out a jade talisman from his storage bag and held it in his palm. The jade talisman emitted a glow that enveloped him. Ah, ah, ah. The ghost faces that were initially gnawing on Suzimo released their bites one after another as though they were in immense pain. They let out tragic cries and turned to flee. In the blink of an eye, the ghost faces flew out of the radius of the jade talisman's light. Green smoke billowed from the ghost faces, and their auras were clearly much weaker. Suzimo obtained a rare breather and could not help but perk up, looking at the black-robed old man with widened eyes. The black-robed old man's expression darkened. When he saw the light emitted by the jade talisman, he was clearly wary. However, he did not stop and said slowly, "Do you think that this thing can stop me?" The black-robed old man approached continuously and arrived at the edge of the jade talisman's radius. He paused for a moment before striding in. Sizzle. The light of the jade talisman enveloped the black-robed old man and let out a series of strange sounds. However, it was clear that his foundation was not injured. As the two of them approached, Suzimo suddenly raised his hand and threw the jade talisman in his hands towards the black-robed old man. Humph! The black-robed old man extended his walking stick and flicked it gently, knocking the jade talisman to the ground. He did not stop and continued walking towards Suzimo, getting closer and closer. Seemingly flustered, Suzimo took out a pile of dermic treasures from his storage bag and threw them towards the black-robed old man. The black-robed old man had a mocking expression as he waved his walking stick casually and knocked down the dermic treasures one after another. He did not notice that among the dermic treasures, there was one that Suzimo did not touch with his hands. Instead, it was wrapped with robes and threw out among the many dermic treasures. It was a dim bronze lantern that looked ordinary. The black-robed old man waved his walking stick casually and struck the bronze lantern. However, he suddenly shuddered and his expression changed. His eyes widened with fear and his body trembled uncontrollably with increasingly stronger convulsions. To think that this lantern is actually in your hands. The black-robed old man's voice trembled. He waved the walking stick in his hands vigorously, as though he wanted to throw the bronze lantern off. However, the bronze lantern seemed to be stuck to the walking stick and could not be flung down. What Suzimo thought of earlier on was not the jade talisman, but this bronze lantern. Previously, he merely touched the bronze lantern and his essence spirit was almost absorbed. If not for the Buddhas that appeared and chanted the Prajna Nirvana Sutra, he would have been killed by a bronze lantern. At the bottom of the bronze lantern was the word soul. Therefore, Suzimo guessed that the bronze lantern might have something to do with the soul. That was not the only strange thing about the bronze lantern. Although it had been in the emperor's tomb for countless years, it was not tainted by the curse of the emperor's tomb at all. In fact, even the hell suppression tripod could not devour it. Right now, the bronze lantern had indeed done something extraordinary. Suddenly, the black-robed old man shrieked with a ruthless glint in his eyes. He extended his left hand and severed his right arm decisively. His right arm and walking stick fell at the same time. Although the black-robed old man lost an arm and suffered severe injuries, he was at least free from the threat of the bronze lantern. Suzimo had been paying attention to the situation the entire time and could not help but feel shocked when he saw that. If the black-robed old man were to break free, he might be the one to die. At that moment, it was already too late for him to pick up the bronze lantern. Suddenly, Suzimo's eyes flickered as he noticed something unusual. There was a faint glow at the bottom of the bronze lantern. Unknowingly, a thin layer of oil had accumulated in the lantern. A thought flashed through Suzimo's mind. Without hesitation, he channeled his extremely weak essence spirit and released a feeble spirit consciousness flame. Or rather, it could only be considered as a spark. However, that spark caused a change when it landed in the lantern. Phew! With a whoosh, a small flame ignited in the lantern and enveloped the black-robed old man with a golden glow. Before the black-robed old man could escape, he encountered such an unforeseen event and could not help but cry out tragically. The fear in his eyes had reached its limits as he shrieked repeatedly, "Soul Lantern! You actually ignited the Soul Lantern!" The golden flame of the bronze lantern did not burn the black-robed old man directly. However, when the golden light around the flame landed on the black-robed old man, golden flames were ignited from head to toe from the inside out and could not be extinguished. In the blink of an eye, the golden flames devoured the black-robed old man completely. The black-robed old man's tragic cries deteriorated rapidly as well. In just a few breaths, the black-robed old man had already vanished completely, and his essence spirit was destroyed by the golden flames. Suzimo looked at everything in a daze, dumbfounded. Earlier on, he merely released a spirit consciousness flame in a flash of inspiration. To think that it would create such a terrifying scene. "Is this a soul lantern?" Suzimo murmured softly. "It's impressive indeed. Souls are completely helpless against the envelopment of this lantern." That power did not come from the soul lantern's flame. If the black-robed man, a powerful ghost immortal, was burned into ashes by the light released by the flame, how terrifying was the power of the actual flame? Chapter 2011, Purification. Chapter 2011, Purification. Naturally, Suzimo knew that the reason why the tiny golden flame was so terrifying was not because of the essence spirit fire he released. Or rather, that wasn't even any essence spirit fire. At best, it was an essence spirit spark and was almost useless. However, because his spark ignited the thin layer of oil in the lantern, it released the power of the soul lantern. However, where did the oil come from? When he first obtained the soul lantern, he could clearly see that there was only the word soul in the lantern without any oil. Furthermore, even if there was lantern oil, it would have dried up after countless years. Suzimo stared at the soul lantern and fell into deep thought. A moment later, a thought flashed through his mind. Soul. Although the black-robed old man severed his arm in time, much of his soul was still absorbed by the soul lantern. There was a high chance that it became the lantern oil in the soul lantern. This was an ancient bronze lantern that could only burn with lantern oil condensed from souls. That should be the origin of the name Soul Lantern. That was not the only thing that shocked Suzimo. The flame of the soul lantern burned the black-robed old man's soul. However, familiar faces appeared in the surrounding void. Those faces were no longer menacing or terrifying. They transformed into human forms and bowed deeply in the direction of the soul lantern, before looking at Suzimo gratefully and bowing as well. Thereafter, the faces vanished completely. Suzimo looked at everything in a daze and was enlightened. A moment later, he gradually understood. Over the years, the black-robed old man had devoured countless souls to cultivate to this point. Those souls were controlled by the black-robed old man and could not enter reincarnation. But now that the black-robed old man was burned to death by the soul lantern, it was equivalent to purifying the souls and allowing some of them to be freed and be reborn. That was the reason why those souls bowed to the soul lantern and expressed their gratitude to him. At that moment, the soul lantern was still burning. Although the golden flame was extremely small, it seemed like it would never extinguish and was filled with a golden glow. Actually, Suzimo was also standing in the light of the soul lantern's flame. However, the power of the soul lantern did not cause any damage to his essence spirit. Suzimo could not confirm the reason either. It might be because his spirit consciousness flame had ignited the soul lantern. That was why the light of the flame did not hurt him. A dermic treasure like this soul lantern must have long gained sentience if even the hell suppression tripod could not devour it. It was also possible that the soul lantern had sensed the aura of the Prajna Nirvana Sutra from him previously and did not hurt him. However, Suzimo was certain that he had yet to fully control this soul lantern. Perhaps his cultivation realm was not high enough, or his essence spirit was not condensed enough. In any case, when he tried to touch the soul lantern, he could still sense a strong warning of danger. Of course, Suzimo was in no hurry. He still had much time and opportunities in the future to slowly explore the secret of this soul lantern. If he still failed after he became an Earth immortal, he would try again when he was a Heaven immortal. One day, he would be able to control this soul lantern completely. Up till now, the soul lantern could not be considered as a trump card and was not of much help to him. That was because he could not control the soul lantern and could only roll it up with his robes. It was too easy for others to resolve it. Any immortal art, divine power, or dermic treasure of the other party could knock down the soul lantern. The reason why the black-robed old man was killed by the soul lantern was mainly because it caught him off guard. Furthermore, the black-robed old man was a ghost immortal and was completely formed from souls. Even the walking stick in his hands was transformed from souls. For the black-robed man, the soul lantern was practically his natural enemy. Right then, Suzimo suddenly realized something. He could not sense the power of the curse of the Emperor's tomb while standing under the envelopment of the soul lantern flame's light. It was as though a vacuum-forbidden ground had been formed within the radius of the soul lantern flame's light, and even the curse of the Emperor's tomb could not penetrate it. Pissed, Suzimo was secretly alarmed. That was a little impressive. The reason why this curse was terrifying was because even immortal emperors were not spared and died to it. Furthermore, there were 2 Emperor Realm experts. But now, the flame of the soul lantern could actually repel the curse of the Emperor's tomb. What was the origin of the soul lantern? Strange. Suddenly, Suzimo recalled something. According to the immortal emperor, he should have obtained this soul lantern long ago. If so, how did the immortal emperor die from the curse? Right then, Suzimo suddenly felt dizzy. His body swayed slightly, and he almost fell to the ground. Earlier on, he was struck by one of the black-robed old man's ghost faces, and his back was mangled with his organs shaken. That was nothing. Given the regeneration capabilities of the Green Lotus True Body, he would recover before long. It was mainly the power of the curse that seeped into his flesh. Earlier on, Suzimo was tense and suppressed the curse of the Emperor's tomb temporarily. Now that he was slightly relaxed, the power of the curse burst forth completely and began to corrode continuously, seeping into his organs and even his marrow. Suzimo finally understood why the immortal emperor died under the curse. Although the flame of the soul lantern could block the curse of the Emperor's tomb, it could not purge the curse in his body. Suzimo felt weak all over and could not even support his body as he knelt on the ground. If anyone else was around, they would be able to clearly see that green spots had already grown on Suzimo's face and skin in a terrifying manner. The curse of the Emperor's tomb exploded completely in his body, destroying his life force. Green spots appeared on Suzimo's bones. Right now, the reason why he could hold on and maintain his clarity was because the Green Lotus True Body had a powerful bloodline and was constantly regenerating blood to fight against the power of the curse of the Emperor's tomb. However, everything would be over if the power of the curse seeped into his marrow. At that time, his marrow would be tainted by the curse of the Emperor's tomb, and the bloodline created would carry the power of the curse. Suzimo would be completely devoured by the curse of the Emperor's tomb and die. Suzimo realized the danger he was in, but was helpless. Although he still had half a 7-glow immortal ginseng, it was useless. The 7-glow immortal ginseng could revive the dead and regrow flesh. No matter how serious the injuries were, one could be healed. However, it was useless against curses. Initially, he could have purged the curse of the Emperor's tomb with the bloodline of the Green Lotus True Body. But now, Suzimo's blood chi was weak from the consecutive battles and his stamina was depleted. Coupled with the fact that he was severely injured by the Ghost Immortal, the curse of the Emperor's tomb seeped into his flesh, organs, and limbs. Even with the bloodline of the Green Lotus True Body, he could not defend against it. Suzimo's body trembled slightly, and the green spots on his face intensified in a terrifying manner. His life force drained continuously without stopping. Even in his consciousness, the Creation Lotus platform gradually stopped spinning. Suzimo had already used up all his trump cards in this series of battles, and there were no methods that could help him tide through this calamity. The curse of the Emperor's tomb was still corroding his organs and marrow wildly. Su Zimo's limbs were already tainted by the curse of the Emperor's tomb. However, for some unknown reason, the curse of the Emperor's tomb could not seep into his marrow still. It was as though there was a strange power in his marrow that was blocking the curse of the Emperor's tomb. Su Zimo's head was spinning and his consciousness was blurring. He could no longer sense the changes. Chapter 2012, Thunderbone Strengthening. Chapter 2012, Thunderbone Strengthening. Suddenly, a deafening sound of instant thunder sounded in Su Zimo's mind, waking him up from his stupor. A strange change was happening within the Green Lotus true body. A blinding light burst forth from his marrow. Accompanied by thunder, bedazzling electric arcs appeared from his marrow and coiled around his jade green bones. As time passed by, the thunder became louder and more terrifying as the power of thunder released from the Green Lotus true body increased. Before long, the Green Lotus true body's body was filled with lightning. The lightning was so strong that even the curse of the Emperor's tomb could not defend against it. Su Zimo was completely awake with a shocked expression. How could there be such a pure and terrifying power of thunder in his body? Suddenly, Su Zimo thought of something. Back in the 10 Absolute Hell, the first thing the Thunder Emperor did after breaking free from the shackles was to send the shattered Tao fruit into his body and seal it. The Thunder Emperor had once told him that given his current cultivation, it was difficult for him to absorb and refine the Tao fruit fragments completely at the moment. However, they might be able to help him in the future. And now, the continuous stimulation of the curse of the Emperor's tomb caused the sealed power of thunder to explode completely. The curse of the Emperor's tomb was related to one's cultivation realm. Su Zimo was only a grade 9 black immortal, and the power of the curse he was tainted with was not strong. However, the power of thunder sealed in his body was incomparably terrifying. It was conjured by the Thunder Emperor's shattered Tao fruit. This was the Tao fruit of the Supreme Perfected Immortal. Even though it was already shattered, it possessed an unimaginable might. The curse of the Emperor's tomb that Su Zimo was tainted with could not defend against the baptism of the power of thunder at all, and was forced to retreat in defeat. If not for the Soul Lantern's flame, the curse of the Emperor's tomb outside would definitely produce an even more terrifying curse power to fight against the lightning. Eventually, Su Zimo would be tainted by the even more terrifying curse of the Emperor's tomb and would definitely die. But now that the Soul Lantern was burning and the light of the golden flame isolated the curse of the Emperor's tomb outside, the curse in Su Zimo's body was purged by the surging lightning before long. The green spots on Su Zimo's face faded and his bones regained their jade green color. They were crystal clear and his bloodline was pure and flawless. Green mist seeped out of his pores continuously. The green mist was conjured by the curse of the Emperor's tomb and left the Green Lotus true body. Not long after it was enveloped by the flame of the Soul Lantern, it gradually disappeared and was refined by the Soul Lantern. Su Zimo stood up and lightning surged in his body, baptizing his body, bloodline, limbs, organs, and cleansing the curse of the Emperor's tomb. The danger of the curse of the Emperor's tomb was completely resolved. However, the power of thunder released by the Tao fruit fragments was way too turbulent. If they were not guided for refinement, even the Green Lotus true body would be destroyed. However, this was no longer a crisis for Su Zimo. If he could refine and guide the power of thunder, he would definitely break through to the Earth Essence realm. Even his Green Lotus true body might be able to break through once more and grow to grade 10. Under normal circumstances, breaking through in the Emperor's tomb was equivalent to courting death. That was because once one broke through to the Earth Essence realm, the power of the curse of the Emperor's tomb would increase as well. There was a high chance that a grade 9 black immortal would survive after leaving the Emperor's tomb. If he broke through to become a grade 1 Earth immortal, he would be doomed. But now, Su Zimo was cultivating with ease and even chose to break through. Within the range of the Soul Lantern's flame, It was not corroded by the curse and was equivalent to a paradise in the Emperor's tomb. Even if he broke through to the Earth immortal realm here, he would not be tainted by the curse of the Emperor's tomb. The danger was resolved, and the situation had turned around completely. This crisis was already a rare opportunity for Su Zimo. Su Zimo reared his head and howled into the skies with an endless might of thunder. The lightning in his body could no longer be suppressed and was about to spill out. Without hesitation, Su Zimo assumed a lotus position and recited the Void Thunder manual silently. Many insights imparted by the Thunder Emperor flashed through his mind. Only the Void Thunder manual could control, absorb, and refine the power of thunder. In the Void Thunder manual of the upper world, in order to refine his body and bloodline, the Thunder Emperor created a Thunder Bones strengthening secret skill to derive the Thunder bloodline. And now, Su Zimo's mind was completely immersed in the Bones strengthening secret skill. Lightning surged around Su Zimo and almost transformed into a sea of lightning. It was blinding and Su Zimo's figure became blurry and indistinct. However, as time passed by, Su Zimo's understanding of the Thunder Bones strengthening secret skill deepened, and he could refine and absorb more power of thunder. The range of the sea of lightning gradually shrank. 1 day, 2 days, 1 month. Su Zimo had been sitting in a lotus position in the sea of lightning the entire time. His eyes were closed and he did not move, as though the world had stopped. The soul lantern flame at the side flickered from time to time, and the oil in the lantern was also being consumed slowly. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, almost a year had passed since Su Zimo and the others entered the Emperor's tomb. Above a desert, a purple figure advanced alone. Although she was expressionless, she looked around from time to time, as though she was searching for something. Tangzi. Her injuries had long healed. In the past half a year, she had been to many places, searching for Su Zimo. However, the Emperor's tomb was like a broken world that was way too huge and boundless. Back then, Su Zimo and the black-robed old man were too fast, and she did not know where they ran to. Trying to find someone in the Emperor's tomb was equivalent to searching for a needle in a haystack. Sigh. Tangzi lowered her head slightly and sighed. Actually, she had already vaguely guessed that Su Zimo was most likely doomed. There was almost no chance of escape after being targeted by a ghost immortal in the Emperor's tomb. Furthermore, Su Zimo was at the end of his road after consecutive battles. How could he escape the pursuit of the ghost immortal? She had not known Su Zimo for long. However, for some unknown reason, she felt sad at the thought that Su Zimo would be buried in the Emperor's tomb without a corpse left. I owe you too much, but I'll probably never get the chance to repay you. Tangzi murmured softly. Right then, the entire Emperor's tomb suddenly shook. A series of explosions sounded from the firmaments, as though the skies were about to collapse. It's time to leave. Tangzi glanced at the firmaments and chanted internally, as though she was bidding farewell to Su Zimo. The Emperor's tomb would not stay in a place for too long. If she was not wrong, this commotion should be a premonition that the Emperor's tomb was about to escape into the void and leave divine firmament mainland. Although she had a teleportation talisman that could return to the prince's residence, if the Emperor's tomb escaped into the endless void, even if she had a teleportation talisman, she would not be able to break through the restrictions of that space and would stay in the Emperor's tomb forever. She wanted to leave. She had something more important to do. Chapter 2013, Trinity Auspicious Jade. Chapter 2013, Trinity Auspicious Jade. On the other side of the Emperor's tomb, the sea of lightning around Su Zimo had already been absorbed by the green lotus true body, and there was an extremely terrifying power in his body that could spew out at any moment. At that moment, lightning coiled around every single jade green bone in Su Zimo's body, and electric arcs circulated in his marrow. Even his new bloodline contained a wisp of the might of thunder. He had attained greater mastery of the Thunder Bones strengthening section. This was something that the Thunder Emperor had painstakingly comprehended with his lifetime's learnings. Under normal circumstances, it was extremely difficult to cultivate. Even with Su Zimo's endowment, it was impossible for him to cultivate this secret skill to greater mastery without hundreds or thousands of years. There were two main reasons why he was able to attain greater mastery of this secret skill within a year. First, the Thunder Emperor imparted his cultivation technique without holding back. The second was the Tao fruit fragments sealed in Su Zimo's body by the Thunder Emperor. Although they were only fragments and there was not much power left after hundreds of thousands of years, there were still many comprehensions and insights left behind by the Thunder Emperor. By refining the Tao fruit fragments, Su Zimo had inherited the Thunder Emperor's cultivation insights completely and did not even need to comprehend them again. It was as though he was enlightened and comprehended everything instantly. Initially, it was only the Green Lotus true body. Su Zimo's physique and power of bloodline were almost invincible among his peers. Now that the Thunder Bones were mastered, the physique and power of bloodline of the Green Lotus true body increased exponentially as well. Su Zimo believed that if he were to face Yunting again, he could suppress the latter even without using his bloodline. Of course, that was only an ideal situation. After all, Yunting's cultivation would not stagnate either. Yunting had suffered a huge loss this time round. As long as his Tao heart was not affected, his cultivation would definitely advance. Everything else aside, if Yunting could control his bloodline phenomenon, it would be enough to cause him immense trouble. At that time, if the two of them met again, it was unknown who would win. Su Zimo's gains after cultivating for more than half a year were not limited to this. When he refined the Thunder Tao fruit, he mastered the Zephyr Thunder Wings as well. This meant that his movement technique could increase by another level, and even ordinary Earth immortals would have difficulty catching up to him. On the other side, after this period of time, the refinement of the Hell Suppression Tripod was almost over. The third tripod wall was about to be repaired. The pattern that appeared was the sacred beast, the black tortoise. Those gains and improvements were not enough. Su Zimo did not stop cultivating. He wanted to break through to the Earth Essence realm in one go. In Su Zimo's consciousness, the phantoms of Buddhas appeared and the voice of the Prajna Nirvana Sutra chanted continuously as the creation lotus platform spun rapidly. In his consciousness, a golden Buddhist light and green light shone together like a pure land of the immortal kingdoms. An essence spirit sat on the pure land. Su Zimo's bloodline circulated, and the sound of a tsunami could be heard. The sound of the tsunami was extremely shocking and contained the sound of thunder. It was majestic and deafening. Everything was ready except for an opportunity. Suddenly, on the other side, the Hell Suppression Tripod trembled slightly and an ancient life force emanated from the third tripod wall. The black tortoise sacred soul above suddenly opened its eyes and released a divine light that entered Su Zimo's consciousness. That divine light was the opportunity. Like a stone that caused 1,000 layers of waves, the divine light entered his consciousness, causing the golden light of Buddhism and the green lotus glow to shine brightly and interweave continuously. Su Zimo reared his head and howled into the skies. The heaven and earth essence chi in his body surged continuously and rose rapidly to its limits. Thereafter, as though he had broken free from some shackles, his body felt lighter. He could clearly sense that his lifespan had doubled to 200,000 years. The green lotus true body could accumulate even richer heaven and earth essence chi. With a single deep breath, essence chi surged into his body. He had broken through. Earth essence realm. The transformation was not over yet. In his consciousness, the creation lotus platform changed as well. All the lotus petals fell off and regrew, forming a gigantic white flower bud. After the green lotus true body obtained the 7 glow immortal ginseng, thunder Tao fruit, and other supreme utmost treasures, he underwent a transformation as well. The thunder bones and green lotus bloodline. Grade 10 green lotus true body. Su Zimo felt that every single move he made seemed to possess endless power that could shake the world. Right then, in his consciousness, the flower bud on the lotus platform began to blossom and circles of lotus petals bloomed one after another. After the 9th circle, another circle of lotus petals appeared. The number of lotus holes on the lotus platform increased to 90 as well. The creation lotus platform had already advanced to grade 10. At that moment, the lotus flower bloomed and a green lotus essence spirit sat on the lotus platform. Flawless, the green lotus essence spirit was incomparably condensed. Its cultivation realm had already reached the terrifying level 3 earth essence realm. The green lotus essence spirit was surrounded by 90 green lotus seeds that transformed into rays of Tao light. It was filled with a faint fragrance and was like a god that had descended upon the world. The strangest thing was that the green lotus essence spirit was holding a jade green weapon. Su Zimo had never seen this jade weapon before. It was as though after his breakthrough, the jade weapon was born alongside the newborn lotus platform and appeared on the lotus platform at the same time as the green lotus essence spirit. I got it. A thought flashed through Su Zimo's mind. Back when his green lotus true body broke through to grade 9, a similar situation happened and the 9 heavens living soil was born. Now that the green lotus true body had grown to grade 10, another unique treasure was born. Su Zimo was delighted. Ever since the 9 heavens living soil appeared, it was extremely powerful and mysterious. Its defense was unparalleled and unpredictable, born from chaos. More importantly, the 9 heavens living soil was a part of the creation green lotus to begin with. As his cultivation realm increased, the might of the 9 heavens living soil would increase as well. Now that another jade weapon was born, it was definitely not weaker than the 9 heavens living soil. Right then, a piece of information flashed through Su Zimo's mind, similar to the inheritance memories of the creation green lotus. However, the information was incomplete and merely gave a rough introduction of the origin of the jade weapon. Trinity, auspicious Jade. Su Zimo murmured softly and focused his gaze. The head of the auspicious Jade one was in the shape of an auspicious cloud with 3 dim beads. According to the inheritance memories of the creation green lotus, the 3 beads had a powerful background as well. They were condensed from the essence of the sun, moon, and stars in the chaos and corresponded to heaven, earth, and man. They were blessed by the heavens and were born together with the Tao. That was also the origin of the Trinity term. On the handle of the auspicious Jade, there were 9 5-clawed golden dragons of different forms with towering horns. The 9 golden dragons possessed their own divine charms and were lifelike, as though they were traveling through auspicious clouds. The scales, whiskers, and claws on their bodies were clearly visible. Faint golden lights shone on the dragons' bodies as they reared their heads, wanting to soar through the clouds and overturn rivers and oceans. The dragon whiskers fluttered, the eyes were open in an enraged manner, and the scales and claws were sharp. Their massive dragon bodies stirred the wind and clouds and shook the world. This small jade weapon revealed an unstoppable and domineering aura. The end of the auspicious jade was in the shape of a lingji with strange patterns drawn on it. Its momentum was fluid as water and contained endless mysteries that were difficult to read. Chapter 2014, Exposed. Chapter 2014, Exposed. The Emperor's Tomb. Tang Zi looked at the deserted desert and lowered her head slightly. Even though she had already made up her mind to leave this place, she was still hesitant and disappointed. After a long silence, Tang Zi pursed her lips and finally took out the teleportation talisman from her storage bag. She rubbed it gently and tore it apart. The talisman shattered and released a tremendous amount of energy, tearing the void in front of her. The crack engulfed Tang Zi instantly and closed slowly. After a moment of dizziness, Tang Zi suddenly felt her body lighten, as though she was flung out of the spatial tunnel. She controlled her body hurriedly and maintained her balance before landing on the ground. Without looking, Tang Zi knew that she had already returned to Prince Yuan's residence and was in the hall they left from previously. However, 100 of them left this place a year ago. But now, she was the only one who had returned. The hall was silent and seemed empty. Suddenly, Tang Zi felt a strong gaze coming from the front of the hall. It was searing and was staring at her fixedly. She was all too familiar with that brazen gaze. There was only a single person in the residence of the prince. Prince Yuanzhua. You're back? Prince Yuan's voice sounded faintly without any emotions. Tang Zi had a calm expression and was unmoved. She raised her head and looked over before bowing slightly. Greetings, Your Highness. Rise, there's no need for formalities. Prince Yuanzhua nodded slightly. Although Prince Yuanzhua was looking forward to it, he was trying his best to contain himself. He looked at Tang Zi with a burning gaze and took a deep breath before saying slowly, I've been waiting here for the past year without leaving the entire time. I hope you can bring me good news. The fact that Prince Yuanzhua waited here for a year for the Jade Talisman was proof of how important it was. Unfortunately, Tang Zi could not help but think of Su Zimo again. However, she composed herself very quickly and said with cupped fists, Sorry to disappoint you, Your Highness. We found the Jade Talisman but could not bring it back. When he heard that, Prince Yuanzhua felt incomparably disappointed and his expression darkened. Tang Zi said, The others died in the Emperor's tomb in order to fight for the Jade Talisman. I already know about that. Prince Yuanzhua said indifferently, I have the hunting ranking in my hands with your spirit consciousness imprints on it. If you guys die, I'll know right away. Tang Zi was silent. Prince Yuanzhua pondered for a moment and asked, Earlier on, you said that you found the Jade Talisman in the Emperor's tomb. Tell me about the process. Tang Zi did not hide anything and roughly described everything that happened after entering the Emperor's tomb. Her narration was filled with half-truths. For example, she lied about how the two old servants died. She did not hide anything that was unimportant and even recounted everything in detail. In fact, she did not hide the fact that she fought against the four paragons and Su Zimo fought against Yuan Ting in the hall at the end. In the end, Su Zimo obtained the Jade Talisman. However, the commotion here attracted a ghost immortal. Tang Zi said, Su Zimo abandoned me and escaped alone. Right now, he should have been killed by the ghost immortal. I searched for more than half a year but could not find his corpse. I don't know where the Jade Talisman is either. To Tang Zi, Su Zimo was already dead. Even if she described this matter truthfully, it would not affect anything. Instead, it would be easier to convince Prince Yuanzhua and gain his trust. What did you say? When Prince Yuanzhua heard the news, he was delighted. He slammed the table and stood up, asking again, You mean to say that Su Zimo obtained the Jade Talisman? Tang Zi felt that something was amiss. However, she could not change her words at that moment and could only grit her teeth. Yes. However, he's definitely dead after being hunted down by the ghost immortal. Ha 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 ha. Prince Yuanzhua burst into laughter with ecstasy in his eyes. The heavens are truly on my side. Su Zimo isn't dead at all. Once he returns, the Jade Talisman will be mine. He's not dead. Tang Zi was stunned and in disbelief. Prince Yuanzhua burst into laughter. The fact that Su Zimo's spirit consciousness imprint is not extinguished on the hunting ranking means that he's not dead yet. When she heard that, Tang Zi's eyes lit up and her heart surged with endless joy. Immediately, she was worried again. If Su Zimo was not dead, he should be returning soon. When he returned, Prince Yuanzhua would definitely ask him for the Jade Talisman. She had not known Su Zimo for long, but she already understood his personality. In order to procure the Jade Talisman, Su Zimo fought against Yuan Ting with all his methods and escaped death after being hunted down by the ghost immortal. He was probably not going to give it up obediently. If Su Zimo were to resist, Prince Yuanzhua would definitely kill him. At that thought, Tang Zi's heart was filled with killing intent. Initially, she wanted to continue hiding beside Prince Yuanzhua and wait for an excellent opportunity to attack. But now, if Su Zimo were to appear, there was a high chance that he would get himself killed. At that time, she would be forced to attack as well, and the situation would be even more chaotic and terrible. However, what were her chances if she attacked now? None of the maidservants who were initially with Prince Yuanzhua were in the hall today. This seemed to be a rather good opportunity. Although Tang Zi was expressionless, her heart stirred. Aren't you going to attack? Right then, a mocking voice sounded. Feng Zi, what are you waiting for? Tang Zi was shocked and almost could not help but exclaim. After all, she had cultivated the Tao of assassination all year round and was resolute. She calmed down rapidly and raised her head to look at Prince Yuanzhua, asking, "Are you talking to me, Your Highness?" Of course. Prince Yuanzhua sat in the hall and looked at Tang Zi with a fake smile. "There's only the two of us here. I didn't hear you clearly earlier on, Your Highness." Tang Zi's expression was unchanged as she said, "In addition, you seem to have called me by the wrong name, Your Highness." "Fufu, I wasn't wrong." Prince Yuanzhua chuckled and said, "How can I address the dignified supreme perfected immortal, Feng Santian's biological granddaughter, wrongly? You're not someone who ascended from the lower worlds at all. Your surname is Feng, not Tang." Feng Zi was silent, and there were still no emotions in her eyes. "When did you discover it?" Feng Zi knew very well that even if she continued pretending, she would only be a laughing stock. It was useless, and she no longer hid anything. "Initially, I did not notice you at all." Prince Yuanzhua smiled gently and said, "However, I saw the scene of you entering the 10 absolute hell. Of course, at that time, I did not take you to heart either. I merely thought that you were a survivor of Remnant Night and was of no threat until Feng Cantion escaped." Chapter 2015, Bird in a Cage. Chapter 2015, Bird in a Cage. At the mention of Feng Cantion, there was still a hint of fear in Prince Yuan's eyes even after a year. However, that hint of fear disappeared before long. Right now, King Tianqing was not the only one in pursuit of Feng Cantion. His elder brother, the heir of King Jin, had already laid an impenetrable trap and was prepared to kill Feng Cantion personally. Feng Cantion was severely injured and had no way of escaping the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom. Once his tracks were exposed, he would definitely die. He was no longer a threat. He didn't escape. Feng Zi was expressionless as she said coldly, "He broke free from the 10 absolute hell and killed 10 perfected immortals. He crushed absolute Thunder City and left openly." "Fufu." Prince Yuanzhua smiled and shrugged his shoulders, saying indifferently, "It doesn't matter. The outcome will be the same. Right, you might not know it yet, but my older brother, King Ungshi came out of seclusion because of this and even tracked down Feng Cantion and injured him. Although Feng Cantion escaped again, he won't be able to hold out for long." At the mention of King Ungshi, Feng Zi shuddered and her eyes were filled with endless resentment. Even with her temperament, she could not control her emotions when she heard that name. She lost her cool and said word by word, "The heir of King Jin." Feng Zi grit her teeth, as though she wanted to tear the heir of King Jin apart. "Oh!" Prince Yuanzhua slapped his forehead and said in realization, "Look at my memory. I actually forgot that my brother once killed your parents personally. I'm truly sorry." Prince Yuanzhua apologized on the surface, but his eyes were filled with mockery. The more Feng Zi lost her composure, the more he felt accomplished. "Sigh, it's not my brother's fault." Prince Yuanzhua shook his head gently, as though he felt pity, and sighed. "It would have been fine if you sinners had known your place after Feng Cantion was suppressed. Why did you have to set up an assassination group called Remnant Night to specifically assassinate people of the royal family? Aren't you just courting death?" Feng Zi clenched her fists and tried her best to suppress the anger in her heart. She knew that Prince Yuanzhua was deliberately angering her. Feng Zi's fingernails had already pierced her palm and blood flowed out, but she was not afraid at all. Prince Yuanzhua continued, "Don't be angry. Back then, my brother was only at the perfected immortal realm and was of the same cultivation realm as your father. It was a fair battle between them, and your father died because he was weak. It's nothing much." "Nonsense!" Feng Zi shouted. "Back then, my mother was captured by a trap set by you guys. The heir of King Jin used my mother to force my father to appear and fight him. So what? At the very least, That battle was watched by everyone, and my brother won fair and square. If he wanted to kill your father, given his status as the heir, there's no need for him to do it personally. Prince Yuan's was sneered. Fair and square? Fair and square? Feng Zi seemed to have thought of something, and her eyes were bloodshot as she glared at Prince Yuan's fiercely. She was so furious that her entire body was trembling. If Su Zimo saw this, he would definitely be shocked. In his opinion, Feng Zi would definitely not reveal such emotions even if something major happened. Suddenly, Feng Zi closed her eyes and no longer looked at Prince Yuanzhua. A moment later, she gradually calmed down. When she opened her eyes again, there were no longer any emotions and her expression was calm. A look of regret flashed through Prince Yuanzhua's eyes. Initially, he thought that Feng Zi could no longer control herself and was about to attack him. To think that Feng Zi would regain her composure with her strong willpower. Prince Yuanzhua was in no hurry and continued, "Furthermore, I didn't notice you at first. However, because Feng Cantillon escaped, I realized that someone must have helped him. I know the layout of the 10 Absolute Hell the best. Without external help, there's no way Feng Cantillon can break free. I had my men check on your identity again immediately. Yes, no matter how realistic your disguise is, as long as we check carefully, there will always be flaws." Feng Zi understood. Prince Yuanzhua thought that she was the one who assisted Feng Cantillon in breaking free from the 10 Absolute Hell. However, in reality, she did have the plan, but it failed. Even up till now, she was at a loss and did not know how Feng Cantillon escaped or what happened in the 10 Absolute Hell. Of course, since Prince Yuanzhua recognized the wrong person, she would not explain either. Prince Yuanzhua smiled. "You've already hidden yourself very well and carefully. Unfortunately, I still saw through you. TSK, TSK. Actually, it was a coincidence that Feng Zi's identity was exposed. If Feng Cantillon had not escaped, she would not have attracted Prince Yuanzhua's attention. Since you discovered my identity long ago, why didn't you kill me?" Feng Zi asked. Prince Yuanzhua smiled gently. "I could use you to enter the Emperor's tomb by retaining you. Why should I be in a hurry to kill you? You're a bird in a cage that will never be able to escape my grasp." Feng Zi was silent. She had to admit that she had underestimated Prince Yuanzhua. This person had long seen through her identity but did not reveal any flaws or alert her. On the surface, this person looked like he was indulging in pleasures and wine. However, he was extremely scheming and controlled everything without batting an eyelid. The fact that this person was not scared out of his wits when Feng Cantillon wreaked havoc in Absolute Thunder City and escaped was proof of his guts. King Jin had many descendants, but not every one of them could be conferred a county to rule over. Most of them merely had titles. From that, it could be seen that Prince Yuanzhua was extraordinary. Feng Zi could not be blamed either. Although Prince Yuanzhua was at the Earth Essence realm, he was truly not outstanding among the many princes. Furthermore, Prince Yuanzhua had a notorious reputation as a prodigal son. Naturally, Feng Zi looked down on him. "After chatting with you for so long, the curse of the Emperor's tomb in your body should be mostly purged, right?" Prince Yuanzhua looked at Feng Zi with a fake smile, as though he knew her thoughts and actions like the back of his hand. In reality, that was the case as well. The reason why Feng Zi questioned Prince Yuanzhua for so long was to buy time. She was only at the Black Essence realm, and the curse she was tainted with did not pose much of a threat. She circulated the Void Thunder Manual, and the power of thunder was born from her thunder bones, purging the curse of the Emperor's tomb from her body before long. Of course, her motive for stalling for time was not only to resolve the hidden ailment of the curse. She wanted to break through to the Earth Essence realm in one go. Feng Zi could have broken through to the Earth Essence realm a long time ago. It was only because she wanted to enter the 10 Absolute Hell and meet Feng Cantillon that she suppressed her cultivation realm the entire time. Later on, Feng Cantillon broke free and entered the Emperor's tomb. With those series of events, she had no chance to break through at all. If she broke through after being cursed in the Emperor's tomb, it would be equivalent to courting death. Now that she had returned to the prince's residence and purged the curse of the Emperor's tomb, all the obstacles on Fengzi were clear. The essence qi in her body surged towards the barrier of the Earth Essence realm. Chapter 2016, Mayfly Shaking a Tree. Chapter 2016, Mayfly Shaking a Tree. Boom! A loud bang seemed to have sounded from Fengzi's body. The barrier shattered. Fengzi took a deep breath of air, and an endless stream of heaven and earth essence qi surged into her body, washing through her flesh, tendons, bones, and organs as her strength increased rapidly. Lightning coiled around her body, and her aura rose continuously. Wow! Prince Yuanzhua pretended to be surprised and clapped with a smile, praising, "You've broken through. Not bad." He allowed Fengzi to break through right in front of him, as though he had no intention of attacking. On the contrary, he had a smile the entire time and looked at Fengzi with a mocking expression. It was not because he was careless and underestimated his opponent. It was because even though Fengzi had broken through to the Earth Essence realm, she could not do anything to him. If it was any other time, Prince Yuanzhua would not have entangled himself with Fengzi and would have killed her long ago. Today, Prince Yuanzhua was overjoyed when he knew that Su Zimo had obtained the Jade Talisman and was about to return. It was a rare moment of interest, and he wanted to play with Fengzi. Time slowly passed. Breaking through such a major cultivation realm usually required a process of adaptation. When Fengzi saw that Prince Yuanzhua did not attack, she did not act rashly. Instead, she continued to absorb heaven and earth essence qi and baptized her body and essence spirit to stabilize her cultivation realm. Suddenly, in a flash, Fengzi charged towards Prince Yuanzhua at an astonishing speed, and there was only a faint shadow in midair. Ha 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 ha. When Prince Yuanzhua saw Fengzi attack, he stood up as well and raised his head in laughter. He was unmoved against Fengzi's figure and did not even look at her. He merely channeled his spirit consciousness, and iron walls suddenly descended around the hall. Fengzi's figure collided with Prince Yuanzhua and dissipated without causing any ripples. That figure was merely an illusion and had long been seen through by Prince Yuanzhua. Fengzi's true form had long hidden itself and fled towards the exit of the hall. As an assassin, she naturally had her own judgment of the situation. She knew very well that even though she had already broken through to the Earth Essence realm, she was definitely not a match for Prince Yuanzhua in a head-on fight. The reason why she broke through to the Earth Essence realm was because she wanted to increase her chances of escaping. "I haven't had my fill of fun yet. Why do you want to leave?" Prince Yuanzhua's mocking voice sounded. Immediately after, the iron walls fell and smashed onto the ground with a deafening bang. Clang! The sound of metal clashing could be heard. Fengzi summoned her dark daggers and stabbed them heavily against the iron walls. However, a series of sparks flew and only left a faint white scar on them. With that collision, Fengzi's concealment technique was dispelled as well, and her figure appeared. Even though she had already advanced to the Earth Essence realm, she could not break through the defense of the hall. Furthermore, all her thoughts and actions seemed to be under Prince Yuanzhua's control. Prince Yuanzhua walked down slowly from his seat towards Fengzi with a smile. "Look, I specially asked the maidservants around me to leave so that I can create a rare opportunity for you to assassinate me. If you want to leave without even attacking me, aren't you letting down my goodwill?" Prince Yuanzhua's smile was chilling and filled with incomparable confidence. Fengzi glared at Prince Yuanzhua in silence. Prince Yuanzhua gradually retracted his smile and said slowly, "So what if you break through to the Earth Essence realm? So what if you're good at assassination? Today, I'll teach you a principle. In the face of absolute strength, no fancy tricks can withstand a single blow." The moment he said that, Prince Yuanzhua released the might of his spirit consciousness and suppressed Fengzi like a tsunami. Fengzi's expression changed and her body swayed, almost knocked down by Prince Yuanzhua's spirit consciousness pressure. The difference was too great. If her spirit consciousness was a pond, Prince Yuan's spirit consciousness was like a lake. The distance between the two of them closed continuously. In the blink of an eye, Prince Yuan's had already arrived before Fengzi. In fact, he was less than an arm's length away and was extremely close. Fengzi was expressionless. However, she suddenly opened her mouth and let out an ear-piercing cry that sounded like an immortal wail. The heaven and earth essence chi around her rippled like water because of that voice. Sound Domain's secret skill, immortal wail sound. At the same time, Fengzi released her blood chi with all her might and lightning surged in her body. Her aura rose to its limits and she broke free from the pressure of Prince Yuan's spirit consciousness. She raised her hands and her sleeves fluttered. Two pitch-black beams of light flashed almost imperceptibly. The dark daggers were already in her hands. One stabbed towards Prince Yuan's chest while the other stabbed towards his face. May! Prince Yuan's did not dodge or avoid. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and spat out a word. Fengzi shuddered and felt her ears buzz. The voice in her mind reverberated endlessly. Fly. Fengzi bit the tip of her tongue gently, and the dark daggers in her hands continued to stab towards Prince Yuan's vitals. Prince Yuan's spoke again and spat out a second word. With a bang, Fengzi's mind went blank and she froze on the spot, as though she was struck by lightning. The dark daggers were less than an inch away from Prince Yuan's chest and face. As long as she prodded gently, given the sharpness of the dark daggers, they would definitely be able to pierce Prince Yuan's vitals. However, she was shocked and turned feeble from Prince Yuan's words. Her blood chi had already dissipated. Shaking, Prince Yuan's spoke once more. A series of crackling sounds came from Fengzi's body. Her bones were shattered by Prince Yuan's and she was in extreme pain. Her face was pale and her blood chi reversed, causing her to almost collapse to the ground. A tree. Prince Yuan's opened his mouth and said the final words. As though she was struck by an unimaginable force, Fengzi's body was sent flying and smashed against the cold wall of the hall with a bang. After a brief pause, it slid down slowly. Fengzi felt as though her tendons and bones were about to split and her organs shifted. Opening her mouth, she spat out a mouthful of blood with a dispirited expression. Mayfly shaking a tree. Although it sounded slow, Prince Yuan's said those words in the blink of an eye. Right from the beginning, he did not even move a single finger. He merely spat out words and severely injured Fengzi with the terrifying power of his sound domain skill. Prince Yuan's came before Fengzi and looked down at her, saying indifferently, "Even if you break through, you'll only be at the level 1 Earth Essence Realm. I've already cultivated to the level 7 Earth Essence Realm. That's a difference of 6 cultivation realms. What do you have to fight me with?" Chapter 2017, Return. Chapter 2017, Return. The Emperor's Tomb. Su Zimo had benefited way too much from this trip to the Emperor's Tomb. Apart from treasures such as the mysterious Jade Talisman, Soul Lantern, and 7 Glow Immortal Ginseng, his cultivation had also broken through a major cultivation realm and reached the level 1 Earth Essence Realm. He had only ascended to the upper world for slightly more than 1,000 years. Even the personal disciples of some aristocratic families and sects could not match his cultivation speed, let alone the native living beings of the upper world. At the same time, the Hell Suppression Tripod repaired the 3rd tripod wall and the pattern of the sacred beast, the black tortoise, appeared on it. Su Zimo even obtained a secret skill passed down from the black tortoise sacred soul. However, he had yet to divert his attention to cultivate. The Green Lotus True Body advanced to grade 10 and gave birth to a treasure, the Trinity Auspicious Jade. He was even more curious about that treasure. At that moment, Su Zimo was studying the jade weapon while stabilizing his cultivation realm. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Although he had obtained some inheritance memories of the creation Green Lotus and knew that the jade weapon was called the Trinity Auspicious Jade, He had to figure out its use himself. Su Zimo's mind was completely immersed in the Trinity Auspicious Jade. He felt that the treasure was extremely mysterious, and the more he explored, the more he could sense the immense power behind it. After a long time, Su Zimo finally discovered one of the miraculous uses of the Trinity Auspicious Jade. He was secretly delighted when he felt a vibration and jolted awake from his cultivation. The Emperor's tomb was shaking violently, and the world spun. Countless starlight fell from the firmaments, and the ground cracked, as though the apocalypse had arrived. Su Zimo realized that the Emperor's tomb was about to leave divine firmament mainland and escape into the void. Without hesitation, he took out the teleportation talisman from his storage bag and tore it apart. A spatial tunnel appeared behind him and devoured him before disappearing from the Emperor's tomb. Green Cloud City, Prince's residence. Feng Zi leaned against the wall weakly. She was severely injured by Prince Yuan's sound domain secret skill. Right now, her blood was dissipated and her tendons and bones felt like they were about to split. The pain was unbearable, and she could not even stand up against the pressure of Prince Yuan's spirit consciousness, let alone complete the assassination. The difference in strength between them was way too great. If it was a secret assassination attempt, she might have a chance of winning. Now that her identity was exposed and she was forced to fight Prince Yuan's head-on, she had no chance at all. Given your intelligence, it shouldn't be difficult for you to tell Feng Santian's intentions, right? Prince Yuan's looked down at Feng Zi and said slowly, the reason why he broke free from the cage but did not take you away was because he was worried that he would implicate you if he was hunted down. Feng Zi remained silent. Actually, she had not seen Feng Cantian at all. To be precise, Feng Cantian did not even know that a granddaughter like her existed. Feng Cantian had been suppressed in absolute Thunder City for hundreds of thousands of years, and she was only a few thousand years old. The two of them had never met before. Feng Zi's closest kin were her parents and master. However, she had heard too many legends about Feng Cantian, and the person she admired the most was this grandfather she had never met before. Feng Cantian had been suppressed for too long. Even if he was alive, he did not have much lifespan left. Feng Zi knew in her heart that if she did not head to Absolute Thunder City, she might not have the chance to see her grandfather personally in her lifetime. That was also the reason why she wanted to barge into the 10 Absolute Hell to meet Feng Cantian despite the immense danger. Indeed, Feng Cantian did not disappoint her for this trip to Absolute Thunder City. In fact, it was even more majestic and unparalleled than the image she had conjured in her mind. That prideful and invincible aura was something that no one in the world could match. Her grandfather was free. This was the only thing that could make Feng Zi happy in thousands of years. Although she was about to die, Feng Cantian survived. She had even witnessed her grandfather's peerless glory personally and had no regrets in her life. At that thought, Feng Zi laughed. She could no longer remember how long it had been since she smiled happily. Perhaps there had never been a smile on her face after her parents died. At that moment, her smile was a little amateurish but exceptionally beautiful. It was like a new touch of green in the early spring, like a blossoming plum blossom in the cold winter. You can still smile? Prince Yuan's shook his head gently and said, I'm curious. Feng Cantian has already escaped, but you didn't take advantage of the chaos to escape. Instead, you came to my side and wanted to assassinate me? Fufu, what exactly do you want? My brother was the one who killed your father and King Tianqing was the one who suppressed Feng Cantian. Why are you looking for me? The smile on Feng Zi's face gradually disappeared as she glared at Prince Yuan's coldly. That's because you deserve to die. I'm going to let King Jin and the heir of King Jin experience the pain of losing their kin as well. Feng Zi planned for a long time before deciding on Prince Yuanzhua as her choice of target. Firstly, Prince Yuanzhua was not old and could be considered as one of King Jin's youngest sons. Although his cultivation was not high, he was entrusted with a heavy responsibility by King Jin. It was clear that he had a high status in the latter's heart. Second, among the many princes, Prince Yuan's cultivation realm was not high, and the success rate of his assassination was higher. Hee. Prince Yuan's had a disdainful expression as he waved his hand gently. His robes expanded dozens of feet and wrapped around Feng Zi's neck a few times like a nimble python before tightening. Feng Zi's body was lifted slowly by the sleeves of the robes. Instantly, her face turned bloodshot and her lips turned purplish. Her neck was almost snapped by Prince Yuan's. Clang! Feng Zi's hands were weak and she could not even hold on to the dark daggers, allowing them to fall to the ground. As long as Prince Yuan's tightened his robes with a single thought, he would be able to kill her. Bitch, you're still too inexperienced to want to kill me. Prince Yuan's glared at Feng Zi and sneered. I'll kill you first today. In a few days, I'll get that old dog Feng Cantillon to accompany you. At that time, your family can reunite in hell. It'll be lively, huh? Prince Yuan's burst into laughter. Just as he was about to kill Feng Zi, a strange energy fluctuation came from behind him. Prince Yuan's glanced sideways. The void not far away from the hall cracked slowly, and a pitch-black spatial tunnel appeared with a sinister wind. When he saw that, Prince Yuan's heart skipped a beat, and he was delighted. Su Zimo must have returned. Prince Yuan's stared at the spatial tunnel fixedly with an expectant expression. Indeed, before long, a figure fell out of the spatial tunnel and stabilized himself before landing steadily in the hall. The person had black hair and a slender figure. Dressed in green robes, he had refined features. It was Su Zimo. Good. Prince Yuan's looked at Su Zimo and was overjoyed as he praised repeatedly, Su Zimo, you did not disappoint me. Chapter 2018. How dare you? Chapter 2018. How dare you? Su Zimo returned to the main hall of the prince's residence and looked around. Thereafter, his gaze landed on Prince Yuan's and Tang Zi, and he frowned slightly. From the looks of it, Tang Zi had already attacked Prince Yuan's. This was a little rash and did not match Tang Zi's character. However, he did not know what else had happened. At that moment, Su Zimo was only at the level 1 Earth Essence realm. However, his essence spirit was already at the level 3 Earth Essence realm and could detect Prince Yuan's cultivation. Level 7 Earth Essence realm? The difference was too great. Indeed, Su Zimo had the means to kill above his level. However, he had no chance of winning in a head-on fight with someone 6 levels above him. Even if he released the Pankati Doubtfire, it would be useless. Your Highness, what's going on? Su Zimo asked expressionlessly. Prince Yuan's was in a great mood and laughed. You came at the right time. Let me reintroduce you. This slut's surname is not Tang, but Feng. Feng? Su Zimo raised his brows slightly and already had a guess. Prince Yuan's continued. The same Feng as Feng Cantillon. Su Zimo pretended to be enlightened and asked, so, between her and Feng Cantillon, that slut is Feng Santian's granddaughter. She's hiding beside me with evil intentions and wants to assassinate me. Prince Yuan's said smugly. Unfortunately, not long after Feng Cantillon escaped, I found out about her identity. Su Zimo sighed internally and looked at Feng Zi deeply. He had long guessed that there might be a relationship between Feng Zi and the Thunder Emperor. That was the reason why he attacked and helped Feng Zi many times later on. However, he had not expected that Feng Zi was the granddaughter of the Thunder Emperor and was related by blood. Prince Yuan's continued. In addition, it was also because of this slut that Feng Cantillon broke free. I see. Su Zimo nodded. When Prince Yuan's saw that Su Zimo had returned and was about to obtain the Jade Talisman, he was in a good mood and explained to Su Zimo patiently. At that moment, he could not wait any longer and urged, Where's the Jade Talisman? Hurry and hand it to me. All right. Su Zimo agreed without hesitation. He slapped his storage bag and took out the Jade Talisman, walking towards Prince Yuan's respectfully. Prince Yuan's looked at Su Zimo, who was gradually approaching, and suddenly became wary. Right then, Zimo stopped in his tracks as well. With a hesitant expression, he said in a low voice, "Your Highness, I've done a meritorious service this time round. Will I get any rewards?" "What rewards do you want?" Prince Yuanzhua asked with a fake smile. Zimo lowered his head slightly and said in a seemingly fearful manner, "If I may be so bold, Your Highness, please reward me with 10,000 essence spirit stones." Also, previously, His Highness promised that the person who rendered meritorious services could choose from one of your maidservants. I wonder. When he heard that, Prince Yuanzhua sneered internally, and a look of disdain flashed through his eyes. The doubts that had just arisen in his heart vanished without a trace. In his eyes, Zimo was a lowlife who had never seen the world. He even asked for 10,000 essence spirit stones right away? What a joke. The value of the Jade Talisman could not be replaced even with 1 million or 10 million essence spirit stones, let alone 10,000. "Oh, you fancy one of my maidservants?" Prince Yuanzhua chuckled. Zimo coughed twice and blushed. "I took a liking to one." "No problem. After this matter is over, I'll reward you with whoever you fancy." Prince Yuanzhua waved his hand. "Thank you, Your Highness." Zimo's face was filled with joy as he hurried forward. Arriving before Prince Yuanzhua, he pretended to kneel and held the Jade Talisman with both hands, sending it towards the latter. Prince Yuanzhua reached out for the Jade Talisman excitedly. The moment he was about to touch the Jade Talisman, he suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. Unknowingly, the smile on Zimo's face had already vanished. His gaze was like lightning, and his expression was cold and murderous. Suddenly, he bounced up from the ground at an extremely fast speed. With a push of his hands, his blood chi burst forth and the sound of a tsunami surged in his body, almost drowning Prince Yuanzhua. Zimo's stance was the killing move of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness, Sanguine Ape Fruit Offering. On the surface, he seemed like he was obedient. However, he was filled with killing intent. Prince Yuanzhua did not have time to react and could only raise his arm to block instinctively. Bang! Zimo's hand smashed heavily against Prince Yuanzhua's arm. Crack! The sound of bones cracking was extremely jarring. Prince Yuanzhua's arm was split into two by Zimo's hands. His broken bones pierced his flesh and were exposed, dripping with blood in a shocking manner. Although Prince Yuanzhua was a grade 7 Earth Immortal, he could not defend against the physique, bloodline, and thunderbones of the grade 10 Green Lotus True Body. "Ah!" Prince Yuanzhua shrieked. It was only now that he realized that Zimo had already broken through to the Earth Immortal realm. Zimo had just returned, and his entire attention was on the Jade Talisman. Naturally, he would not check on Zimo's cultivation realm. Furthermore, there was no way he could break through in the Emperor's tomb. That was secondary. What Prince Yuanzhua truly did not expect was that Zimo would dare to attack him so decisively without any hesitation. "How dare you?" Prince Yuanzhua roared and retreated without hesitation, wanting to distance himself from Zimo. No matter what, his cultivation realm was 6 realms above Zimo. Although his arm was snapped, Earth Immortals could regrow limbs by circulating their divine powers. That was not a serious injury. As long as he distanced himself, he would be far stronger than Zimo in terms of immortal arts, divine powers, and secret skills, and would definitely be able to suppress the latter. Prince Yuanzhua channeled his movement technique at an extremely fast speed. As he retreated, he prepared to tighten his robes and strangle Feng Zi to death. Swoosh! Right then, golden light and lightning flashed before his eyes. Immediately after, Zimo's figure appeared before him. Prince Yuanzhua's pupils constricted slightly. There were 3 pairs of gigantic wings behind Zimo. At the top was a pair of gigantic golden wings. Second was a pair of zephyr thunder wings that were surrounded by lightning and flapped wildly. The smallest wings at the bottom were ethereal wings that were formed from heaven and earth essence chi. 3 pairs of wings burst forth at the same time. Even Prince Yuanzhua, a grade 7 Earth Immortal, was caught up by Su Zimo in the blink of an eye. You must have a death wish. Prince Yuan's gaze intensified as his fingers changed. He rapidly conjured hand seals and released an immortal art in front of him. A torrential wave was formed instantly and surged towards Su Zimo with a terrifying might. Su Zimo's figure swayed slightly and suddenly disappeared from Prince Yuan's sight. The next moment, when he appeared, he had already descended behind Prince Yuan's True Dragon 9 flashes. Chapter 2019, Blind. Chapter 2019, Blind. Arriving behind Prince Yuan's Su Zimo conjured the Great Chaos Essence Palm and slapped the latter on the head. If that attack could hit, even if it could not break Prince Yuan's head, it could penetrate his bones and severely injure his essence spirit. If that attack could hit, even if it could not break Prince Yuan's head, it could penetrate his bones and severely injure his essence spirit. Furthermore, Prince Yuan's physique and bloodline could not compare to the Green Lotus true body. At that time, Prince Yuan's would not be able to escape unscathed if Su Zimo closed in and released a ferocious attack. A divine glint flashed through Prince Yuan's eyes. When he saw Su Zimo disappear before him, his reaction was shockingly fast. He utilized a strange footwork and dodged the range of the Great Chaos Essence Palm in a few steps. Be it in terms of experience or methods, a prince who could lead a region far surpassed cultivators of the same cultivation realm. Even though he had never seen the True Dragon 9 flashes before, he still dodged Su Zimo's killing move with his mysterious movement technique. Su Zimo's gaze intensified. With a long howl, his figure flashed once more and vanished. The second flash, he must not let Prince Yuan's have any breathing room. Once the two of them distanced themselves, Prince Yuan's snapped out of his stupor and released various immortal arts, secret skills and divine powers that Su Zimo could not defend against. The difference in their cultivation realms was still too great. Relying on that mysterious footwork, Prince Yuan's had just escaped from Su Zimo's Great Chaos Essence Palm and was about to retaliate when Su Zimo's figure appeared beside him out of thin air once more. It's not over yet. Prince Yuan's had a furious expression and channeled his essence spirit to its limits. With every step he took, his feet sounded and cold sabers burst forth from his feet. That movement technique was King Tianqing's secret skill, the execution steps. Not only was the execution steps unfathomable, as long as one circulated a secret skill, they could condense a cold saber beam with every step and counterattack. It was extremely powerful. Initially, Prince Yuan's wanted to fight Su Zimo head-on. However, he had not expected Su Zimo to vanish once more. The third of the True Dragon 9 flashes. This time round, Su Zimo circled behind Prince Yuan's At that moment, it was the moment Prince Yuan's released his saber. Under normal circumstances, if Prince Yuan's relied on the execution steps, Su Zimo might not be able to injure him even if he used the True Dragon Flash 3 times. However, in his rage, he wanted to retaliate and kill Su Zimo. The moment he released the saber, his movement technique paused for a moment. That pause was almost negligible and had almost no effect. However, in a fight between experts, a single moment was all that mattered. Prince Yuan's released his saber while Su Zimo used the True Dragon 9 flashes to appear behind him, slapping in reverse towards the former. Prince Yuan's had lost the initiative and could no longer dodge the palm strike. He could only try his best to avoid fatal damage. Bang! Su Zimo slapped Prince Yuan's heavily on the shoulder. The moment his palm landed, a gray fog surged out of his palm and changed rapidly, as though it was condensing something that entered Prince Yuan's body. Prince Yuan's cried out in pain. His shoulder was almost shattered by Su Zimo, and he could not control his body as he lunged forward. On the other side, Feng Zi felt the sleeves on her neck loosen slightly. Without hesitation, her spirit consciousness moved and the 2 dark daggers on the ground jumped into her palms. A cold light flashed. Feng Zi crossed her arms and cut off the sleeves of the robe around her neck, escaping. Prince Yuan's expression darkened. The moment Su Zimo attacked him, he wanted to strangle Feng Zi to death. However, Su Zimo continued attacking and did not give him any chance. If he was slightly distracted, he might have been severely injured by Su Zimo earlier on, let alone strangle Feng Zi to death. Prince Yuan could no longer care about Feng Zi. Comparatively, Su Zimo was way too much of a threat to him. As long as Su Zimo was dealt with, Feng Zi would be nothing to fear. Prince Yuan's was struck by Su Zimo's palm and fell forward, increasing the distance between them. When he saw Feng Zi escape, he ignored her and channeled his spirit consciousness, prepared to release divine powers and secret skills to kill Su Zimo. On the other side, Su Zimo flapped his 3 pairs of wings. His body shone with a golden light, and lightning surrounded him as he charged towards Prince Yuanzhua once more. Roar! Suddenly, Su Zimo opened his mouth and let out a dignified and terrifying roar from the depths of his throat. It contained a supreme will, as though he was looking down at all living beings and wanted to trample the world beneath his feet. Dragon Roar Secret Skill. Prince Yuan's cultivation realm was already at the level 7 Earth Essence realm, and this sound domain secret skill could not hurt him. However, at such a close distance, he shuddered when he was struck by Su Zimo's Dragon Roar secret skill and was stunned on the spot. Before his divine powers and secret skills could be formed, they showed signs of dissipating. However, he regained his consciousness before long. His vision was shrouded by an incomparably blinding light, and he could not even open his eyes. Poof! The next moment, a beam of light shot into his socket. Visual technique, illumination eye. Ah! Prince Yuanzhua shrieked tragically with a tragic expression. His features were contorted in pain. His left eye was already blinded by the illumination eye, and his eyeball was completely shattered. However, no blood flowed out. The blood in his eye socket had long been burned and evaporated by the power of the illumination eye, leaving only charred marks. This was the level 7 Earth Essence realm. If it was any other Earth immortal, the illumination eye would most likely pierce their heads and even kill their essence spirits on the spot. But now, the illumination eye merely blinded one of Prince Yuanzhua's eyes. Die! Prince Yuanzhua roared. While he was severely injured, his remaining eye released a visual technique. An ancient blade shot out from his pupils at an astonishing speed. As though it had broken through the restraints of space, it arrived at Su Zimo's left eye instantly. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes slightly and did not dodge or avoid the Dao visual technique. He attacked once more and slapped Prince Yuanzhua on the chest. Crack! Prince Yuanzhua's sternum was snapped by Su Zimo into multiple parts. A few broken ribs even pierced Prince Yuanzhua's heart, causing his blood qi to drain wildly. However, he grit his teeth and did not seem to care. He merely glared at Su Zimo coldly and said, "You have to pay with your life for blinding one of my eyes." Prince Yuanzhua was a grade 7 Earth immortal. He was confident that Su Zimo would not be able to defend against his visual technique. The ancient saber condensed from the power of the visual technique was enough to pierce Su Zimo's left eye and enter his consciousness, destroying his essence spirit. As Prince Yuanzhua had expected, his visual technique ancient saber had indeed entered Su Zimo's left eye. However, it was as though a clay ox had fallen into the sea and vanished without a trace. In fact, there were no ripples at all. Su Zimo was perfectly fine. Chapter 2020, Lifespan Deterioration. Chapter 2020, Lifespan Deterioration. Initially, Su Zimo's left eye could have released another Dao visual technique, the Netherglow Eye. However, after coming out of the lone island in the Emperor's tomb, something happened to his left eye. An extremely pure power of darkness lingered in his left eye. The Netherglow stone was in the ball of darkness power. However, no matter how Su Zimo probed, there was no result. When his spirit consciousness entered his left eye, it would be devoured and assimilated by the power of darkness and vanish. In other words, his Netherglow eye could no longer be released within a short period of time. However, Su Zimo knew very well. The power of darkness in his left eye was extremely terrifying. The scene on the lone island was still fresh in his memories. If not for the nether glow stone, he might have died on the lone island. Therefore, when he sensed Prince Yuan's visual technique piercing towards his left eye, Su Zimo did not choose to dodge. That action was a little risky. However, in reality, he had won the gamble. Prince Yuan's visual technique entered his left eye and was devoured and assimilated by the power of darkness before long. In fact, he did not even feel anything. Good. When Prince Yuan's saw that, he was puzzled as well. However, he reacted quickly and glared at Su Zimo, sneering, "Inferior commoner of the lower worlds, do you think that you can hurt me like this? You're way too naive." Prince Yuan's slapped his storage bag and took out a pill, swallowing it in a single mouthful. It was unknown what miraculous medicine that was. In just a few breaths, Prince Yuan's body shone with endless vitality. His severed arm connected rapidly and the bones in his chest gradually recovered. His blind eye was repairing and his shattered heart had already stopped bleeding. He was a prince after all and had way too many treasures on him. As long as Su Zimo could not kill him right away, there would be no more chances. Earth immortals could regrow severed limbs to begin with. Coupled with the medicinal effects of the immortal pill earlier on, Prince Yuan's injuries healed at a visible speed. The difference in cultivation realm between them was too great. It was extremely difficult for Su Zimo to severely injure him and hurt his foundation. Su Zimo merely glared at Prince Yuan's coldly with a mocking gaze. The injuries on Prince Yuan's body were indeed healing. However, his sideburns were already slightly white and his face looked old. Right then, Prince Yuan's noticed something amiss with his body as well. My lifespan. Prince Yuan's eyes widened in shock. Initially, he was only more than 40,000 years old. For an Earth immortal with a lifespan of 200,000 years, he was considered a young man. But now, he was already more than 160,000 years old and only had less than 40,000 years to live. His age had increased by more than 120,000 years. How could this be? Prince Yuan's channeled his essence spirit continuously and released divine powers, wanting to recover his decreased lifespan. However, no matter what methods he released, there were no signs of recovery from the lifespan he lost. What exactly did you do? Prince Yuan's glared at Su Zimo as though he wanted to skin him alive. Su Zimo sneered. After his first exchange with Prince Yuan's, he realized that even the grade 10 green lotus true body could not severely injure the latter. Therefore, for the next two attacks, Su Zimo merely punched Prince Yuan's with his palm on the surface. However, in reality, he had condensed the greater divine power, time is like a saber, both times and released it on Prince Yuan's. Only, the combat was intense at that time, and Prince Yuan's was severely injured consecutively. He was also blinded, and did not notice the deterioration of his lifespan right away. It was only now that he realized the condition of his body. In a flash, Su Zimo charged towards Prince Yuan's once more. As long as Prince Yuan's was struck by the time saber, even if he was a grade 7 Earth immortal, he would die after expending his lifespan. Su Zimo circulated his secret skill and 4 balls of flames suddenly appeared around him. Immediately after, the 4 balls of flames gathered and charged towards Prince Yuan's. Just as it was about to collide, Su Zimo's spirit consciousness released a spirit consciousness flame that entered the 4-colored flame. Pankati Dao Fire. Phew! The Pankati Dao Fire landed on Prince Yuan's and burned with raging flames. Suddenly, a terrifying power burst forth from the flames. Shing! Immediately after, a strange voice sounded. Prince Yuan's figure appeared and a raging tide burst forth from his body, suppressing the Pankati Dao fire and gradually extinguishing it. Su Zimo was secretly alarmed. The difference in cultivation realm was so great that even the Pankati Dao fire could not make up for it. Amidst the green smoke, Prince Yuan's expression was dark and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He conjured hand seals with both hands, and walked slowly towards Suzimo. Suzimo was fearless. With a long howl, he released his innate divine power, the six-tusked divine strength. The power of his blood chi, body, and essence spirit surged. Although his cultivation realm was only at level 1 Earth Essence realm, his essence spirit was at the level 3 Earth Essence realm. Now, with the increase of the six-tusked divine strength, the power of his essence spirit had increased exponentially and was at the level 4 Earth Essence realm. Even so, he was still 3 realms away from Prince Yuan's essence spirit cultivation. Why? You want to use your essence spirit secret skill? Prince Yuan's shook his head with a mocking expression. You're playing with fire. You have a death wish. Before his sentence was finished, Prince Yuan's rapidly condensed an essence spirit secret skill and released it, charging towards Suzimo. On the other side, Suzimo's essence spirit secret skill was released as well. Furthermore, it was not just one. In a short period of time, Suzimo condensed 4 essence spirit secret skills. The reverse scale, Gautama Dermic Seal 1, Spirit Vanquishing Whip, and Green Lotus Sword were released like raging tides and torrential rain. Prince Yuan's was initially filled with confidence. However, his expression changed instantly. His pupils constricted, and he wanted to curse. However, he was beaten back by Suzimo's 4 essence spirit secret skills. In normal essence spirit fights, both parties would release an essence spirit secret skill. He had never seen anyone who could release 4 essence spirit secret skills in one go. What sort of essence spirit could withstand such immense expenditure and burden? His essence spirit realm was indeed 3 levels higher than Suzimo. However, his lifespan was severely depleted, and he was already in his later years. His essence spirit was not as condensed as it was at its peak. Now, after one of his essence spirit secret skills collided with Suzimo's 4 essence spirit secret skills, the void in the hall trembled violently, and it was difficult to determine the victor. Both of them shuddered and hugged their heads with both hands, crying out in pain. Suzimo was the Green Lotus essence spirit after all, and was nourished by the Creation Lotus platform. Although his essence spirit was shaken, his foundation was not injured. However, thin cracks appeared on Prince Yuan's essence spirit. Inferior commoner, ant? Prince Yuan's was enraged and roared. Right then, a phantom-like figure appeared behind him. Expressionless, it gripped a sharp blade with both hands and arrived silently. Chapter 2021. So, it was you. Chapter 2021. So, it was you. Fengzi. She had long escaped, but she did not attack immediately. Instead, she waited patiently for an opportunity. Now that Prince Yuan's lifespan was declining and his essence spirit was attacked, this was a rare opportunity. As a top-tier assassin, she would definitely not let it go. The dark daggers crossed and slashed towards Prince Yuan's neck and head. Although the daggers were dark and sharp, they did not shine at all, as though they were hidden in the void. Fengzi did not even reveal any killing intent. The dark daggers seemed to have fused with Fengzi and were her arms. At the same time, Suzimo's essence spirit recovered faster than Prince Yuan's with the nourishment of the Creation Lotus platform. He circulated the movement technique that could shrink the ground into inches and arrived before the latter in a few steps. Suzimo remained silent and flipped his palm, suppressing the top of Prince Yuan's head. 2 lowlifes scram. Sensing danger, Prince Yuan's could not care less about the tearing pain from his essence spirit. He touched his glabella gently and pulled out a pitch-black scroll. Splash! Prince Yuan's unfolded the pitch-black scroll and surrounded himself. That was Prince Yuan's destiny dermic weapon, the hunting ranking. The dark daggers did not manage to land on Prince Yuan's Instead, they were blocked by the hunting ranking. The pitch-black canvas of the hunting ranking trembled slightly and released a tremendous recoil, sending the dark daggers flying and turning into 2 dark lights that entered the iron wall of the hall. The power was way too strong, and Fengzi's palm was torn. With a dull grunt, She was sent flying once more and spat out a mouthful of blood. Su Zimo slapped down, and the scarlet names on the hunting ranking suddenly burst forth with bloodlight. Su Zimo's name was among them. Poof, poof, poof. The bloodlight was extremely terrifying and powerful. Even though Su Zimo's palm was a grade 10 creation green lotus, it was penetrated by the bloodlight. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat, and his expression changed slightly as he retreated hurriedly. If he was enveloped by the bloodlight, his green lotus true body would be riddled with holes as well. The bloody hole on Su Zimo's palm emitted an extremely corrosive aura, wanting to continue corroding his entire palm. However, the creation green lotus had a powerful bloodline and shocking regeneration capabilities. Electric arcs even appeared from the wound on its palm to suppress the evil blood light of the hunting ranking. With the green lotus true body and thunder bones, the bloodied hole on his palm healed slowly. Fufufu ha 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 ha. The hunting ranking hovered above Prince Yuan's head. First, he sneered deeply before rearing his head in laughter. How dare you two ants try to kill me? Prince Yuan's would grit his teeth. Although he was smiling, his eyes were filled with endless rage. As the son of King Jin and a prince who ruled over a region, it had been a long time since he had suffered such a huge loss. He could understand why Feng Zi attacked him. After all, there was a deep feud between them. Furthermore, he had already exposed Feng Zi's identity. Even if she did not attack, he would kill her. However, Su Zimo was nothing. How could a nobody who had ascended from the lower worlds dare to attack him? Furthermore, he was injured by this nobody. Prince Yuanzhua felt that his dignity was being provoked and humiliated. What was his identity? What was the identity of Su Zimo before him? One of them was high up and above, while the other was lowly and cheap. It felt as though a weak mantis had blocked his path and even injured him. One could imagine the rage in Prince Yuanzhua's heart. You lowlife, who gave you the guts to attack me? Prince Yuanzhua glared at Su Zimo with a ferocious gaze and asked with grit teeth. Su Zimo, if you can leave, leave quickly. Don't worry about me. Feng Zi sent a voice transmission with her spirit consciousness. He's already summoned the hunting ranking. We won't be able to hurt him with this dermic treasure protecting him. That's not for sure. Su Zimo shook his head gently and continued walking towards Prince Yuanzhua. All right. When Prince Yuanzhua saw that Su Zimo wanted to attack him, he laughed sinisterly. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Prince Yuanzhua pointed forward, and the hunting ranking above his head spun, flying towards Su Zimo. It released streams of bloodlight that wanted to devour Su Zimo completely. Su Zimo had a fearless expression, and his glabella opened up. A green light flew out and expanded rapidly in front of him, turning into a bronze square tripod that was half the height of a human. The bronze square tripod descended and exuded an ancient aura, as though it had transmigrated through the sands of time and emitted a strange glow. On three sides of the tripod, there were lifelike patterns. The azure dragon circled, the vermilion bird bathed in flames, and a turtle and snake intertwined, revealing the patterns of three sacred beasts. The final tripod wall was shattered, and the pattern on it could not be seen at all. This tripod. Prince Yuanzhua shuddered and felt that the bronze square tripod looked familiar, as though he had seen it somewhere before. When Feng Zi saw the bronze square tripod, she shuddered as well, as though she recalled something. So, it was you. Almost at the same time, Prince Yuanzhua and Feng Zi blurted out. A year ago, Feng Cantion broke free from the 10 absolute hell and fought against 11 perfected immortals. He was suppressed by the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar in Absolute Thunder City and almost lost. It was also because Feng Cantion summoned a broken bronze tripod out of nowhere that he managed to shatter the Absolute Thunder Divine Pillar and retrieve the startling evil spear within to reverse the situation. The reason why Prince Yuanzhua and Feng Zi could not recognize it right away was because the Hell Suppression tripod had repaired another tripod wall in the Emperor's tomb and was different from before. Prince Yuanzhua had always thought that Feng Zi was the one who helped Feng Cantion escape. As for Feng Zi, She was utterly confused and did not know how Feng Cantillon broke free from the restraints of the 10 absolute hell. Both of them were extremely intelligent. The moment they saw Suzimo summon the bronze square tripod, they understood many things. So, you're also a survivor of Remnant Night? Prince Yuan's was said sternly. That's perfect. I'll let the two of you die here today as a pair of lovebirds. The moment he said that, the blood light of the hunting ranking shone brightly and engulfed Suzimo's figure. Enduring the pain from his essence spirit, Prince Yuan's channeled the hunting ranking continuously. The blood light on it surged continuously and almost formed a blood sea. The hall was filled with a strong blood stench. Suddenly, two bedazzling divine lights burst forth from the blood sea and illuminated the surroundings like daylight, revealing the figure of the Hell Suppression Tripod. On a tripod wall of the Hell Suppression Tripod, the black tortoise that was initially closed had unknowingly opened its eyes. The two divine lights burst forth from the eyes of the sacred beast, the black tortoise, and possessed a supreme might that could not be offended. Chapter 2022, Not Dead? Chapter 2022, Not Dead? Even the sticky and grisly blood sea could not withstand the black tortoise's gaze. Splash! The black tortoise did not come out of the tripod wall at all. The moment it opened its eyes, the blood light on both sides seemed to be unable to defend against it and rumbled continuously, opening up a path. Suzimo hid in the Hell Suppression Tripod and avoided the blood light of the hunting ranking. The Hell Suppression Tripod charged in and smashed towards Prince Yuan's. Arg! Prince Yuan's exclaimed in shock. A year ago, Feng Cantillon controlled this bronze square tripod and shattered the absolute thunder divine pillar. Although Suzimo did not have Feng Cantillon's strength, if he was struck by the bronze square tripod, he would most likely be smashed into pieces as well and would be doomed. Prince Yuan's reaction was extremely fast. He controlled the hunting ranking with one hand and blocked in front of him. With his other hand, he slapped his storage bag and took out a defensive talisman, tearing it apart. Instantly, a defensive barrier was formed around him. Bang! When the Hell Suppression Tripod collided with the hunting ranking, the pitch-black canvas collapsed instantly. Thereafter, it collided heavily against the defensive barrier before stopping. Prince Yuan's heaved a sigh of relief. Crack, crack, crack. But soon, he heard cracking sounds. Although he managed to defend against the Hell Suppression Tripod, the defensive barrier on his body was shattered as well and cracks appeared. After a brief pause, it collapsed. When Prince Yuan's saw that, he already had the intention to retreat and was prepared to escape. However, the moment he turned around, he caught sight of a figure and was scared out of his wits. Unknowingly, Suzimo had arrived behind him. Suzimo wielded a gray saber in his hands. With a cold gaze, he sent the gray saber into Prince Yuan's body. The two of them were so close that Prince Yuan's could not react at all. The fourth of the true Dragon 9 flashes. Actually, when Suzimo broke through to the Earth Essence Realm and his Essence Spirit reached the Level 3 Earth Essence Realm, he could already activate the fourth flash. However, he did not use that final flash earlier on. That was because he had not found the best opportunity. It was only when the Hell Suppression Tripod shattered the defensive barrier and Prince Yuan's was still in shock that Suzimo circulated his fourth flash and arrived behind Prince Yuan's before releasing a fatal blow. The gray saber that entered Prince Yuan's body was the Time Saber. At this distance, Suzimo naturally had other killing moves. However, he was worried that Prince Yuan's had other trump cards to protect himself. With that thought, he decided to release the Time Saber. No matter how many trump cards Prince Yuan's had, he only had slightly more than 30,000 years to live. Time is like a saber could sever 60,000 years of lifespan with a single slash. Prince Yuan's could not defend against it at all. Prince Yuan's eyes widened as he glared at Suzimo indignantly. His hair, beard, and brows turned white rapidly, and his face was old and filled with wrinkles. In the blink of an eye, He had already aged and was on the brink of death. His life force drained rapidly. That slash severed his lifespan completely. Prince Yuanzhua fell slowly beside Su Zimo's feet and died without a sound. Su Zimo heaved out a sigh of relief. It was finally over. Given his cultivation, he could not defeat a Grade 7 Earth immortal head-on. Apart from the Hell Suppression Tripod, True Dragon 9 flashes, and many other powerful trump cards, luck was also involved. Prince Yuanzhua was caught completely off guard. Su Zimo? Right then, Feng Zi's voice sounded with a grim tone. Something doesn't seem right. Why? Su Zimo looked at Feng Zi and asked. Feng Zi was staring at Prince Yuan's corpse with a strange expression. There seemed to be a hint of fear in her eyes. Instinctively, Su Zimo looked down. Prince Yuan's corpse laid on the ground with grievances. His eyes were fixed on Su Zimo, and a strange smile appeared on his dead face. That smile was utterly chilling. Su Zimo could clearly and accurately detect that Prince Yuanzhua was indeed dead, and there was no longer any life in his body. However, why would he reveal such a smile before his death? Right then, Su Zimo felt an extremely terrifying power surge out from the side. MMM? Su Zimo glanced sideways, and his expression changed. The hunting ranking at the side floated up slowly and hovered in midair. Endless blood light surged from the blood words on it, and its aura rose continuously. How is this possible? Feng Zi murmured softly with a shocked expression. Under normal circumstances, now that Prince Yuanzhua was dead, his destiny dermic treasure no longer had an owner and could not circulate and float on its own. Unless? Su Zimo and Feng Zi exchanged glances. Both of them thought of the same possibility. Yuanzhua isn't dead, Su Zimo said slowly with a grim expression. Fu. Right then, the blood light that burst forth from the hunting ranking interweaved continuously and gradually formed a blood-colored figure. Before his features could appear, a series of laughter sounded. It was the voice of Prince Yuanzhua. Su Zimo frowned. The laughter gradually died down and the blood-colored figure was completely formed, identical to Prince Yuanzhua. You're smart. Prince Yuanzhua looked at Su Zimo and said slowly, what you killed earlier on was just a clone I cultivated. Do you guys think that I can rule over a county with just the cultivation of an Earth immortal? Do you think it's just because of my father's love for me? You guys underestimated me. How dare two ants try to commit regicide? When she heard that, Feng Zi felt despair. Even the clone cultivated by Prince Yuanzhua was a Grade 7 Earth immortal. In that case, there was a high chance that his prime body was an expert at the Heaven Immortal realm. She was not the only one. Everyone underestimated this young prince. Prince Yuanzhua used this clone to show himself all year round, as though he was indulging in wine and did not have the mood to cultivate. However, the prime body was already an expert at the Heaven Immortal realm. The Jade Talisman was extremely important this time round. However, his prime body was in seclusion and did not appear. This was initially a secret of his. Now, it was exposed by Su Zimo and Feng Zi. You two ants shall pay with your lives for destroying my clone. In midair, the blood-colored figure, Prince Yuanzhua, said coldly. Although the blood-colored figure was only conjured by his prime body's hunting ranking in seclusion and resembled a weapon spirit, it was enough to kill Su Zimo and Feng Zi. The power released by the Heaven Immortal expert, when he channeled the hunting ranking, was naturally far stronger than his Earth Immortal clone. Kill. Suddenly, Su Zimo hollered and channeled his spirit consciousness, blocking the Hell Suppression tripod in front of him. With a single thought, the black tortoise in the Hell Suppression tripod opened its eyes and crawled out slowly. Although the black tortoise's movement seemed extremely slow, every single step it took released an extremely terrifying and vast might. This is... Prince Yuan's expression changed starkly. He had not expected the pattern of the sacred beast, the black tortoise, in the Hell Suppression tripod to come alive and descend before him. Pissed, the black tortoise reared its head and howled. Prince Yuanzhua shuddered. Unable to withstand the pressure of the sacred beast, the black tortoise, blood light burst forth from his body. Chapter 2023, Unable to Escape. Chapter 2023, Unable to Escape. The awakened sacred beast soul in the hell suppression tripod could even kill a top-tier heaven immortal expert. Back on the Dragon Abyss star, the heaven immortal Meiji was killed by the awakened vermilion bird sacred soul. Although Prince Yuanzhua was a heaven immortal expert, his prime body was not here at all. However, because the hunting ranking was his destiny dermic weapon, he could control the power of the hunting ranking even from 5,000 kilometers away. But that power could not defend against the Black Tortoise Sacred Soul at all. Before the Black Tortoise Sacred Soul truly attacked, Prince Yuan's blood-colored weapon spirit was already unable to defend against it. The blood light around the blood-colored weapon spirit surged and trembled continuously, almost collapsing. In reality, the hunting ranking was a sentient dermic treasure. Even if Prince Yuan's prime body did not descend personally, the weapon spirit of the hunting ranking was enough to kill the two Grade 1 Earth Immortals, Su Zimo and Feng Zi. However, for the sake of the Jade Talisman, he allowed Su Zimo to enter the Emperor's tomb. By some freak coincidence, the Hell Suppression Tripod devoured a large number of abandoned spirit treasures and repaired the third tripod wall, awakening the Black Tortoise Sacred Soul. Even if Prince Yuan's racked his brains, he could not imagine such a change. After the Black Tortoise Sacred Soul cried, its cold gaze landed on Prince Yuan's blood-colored weapon spirit as it crawled over slowly. Although the speed of the Black Tortoise Sacred Soul seemed slow, for some unknown reason, the blood-colored weapon spirit seemed to be rooted to the spot and could not move at all. He could only watch helplessly as the Black Tortoise Sacred Soul approached and its massive body collided gently against him. Splash! The blood-colored weapon spirit collapsed on the spot and transformed into a blood sea once more. The blood sea was extremely corrosive. However, the turtle shell on the back of the Black Tortoise Sacred Soul was etched with mysterious marks that resembled ravines that contained the secrets of the universe. Buzz! At that moment, the marks on the Black Tortoise's Sacred Soul turtle shell shone with a bedazzling golden light that the blood sea could not approach. Not only that, the blood sea was sliced into pieces by the golden light and dried up rapidly. The remaining blood had weak auras and could not even take on the form of a weapon spirit. Turning into a blood beam, it entered the hunting ranking rapidly. Phew! The hunting ranking closed and reverted to a scroll. With a black flash, it wanted to escape from the hall. We can't let him leave. Su Zimo was alarmed. The moment he thought about it, the Hell Suppression Tripod seemed to have sensed something and descended from the skies, emitting an endless might that suppressed the hunting ranking. Boom! The two dermic treasures collided, and the hunting ranking let out a tragic cry, crashing to the ground like a meteor. The Hell Suppression Tripod descended once more and reversed its head and legs. Its mouth was aimed at the hunting ranking and released a powerful suction force, devouring the hunting ranking into the tripod. The Black Tortoise Sacred Soul returned to the third tripod wall, and the aura of the Hell Suppression Tripod surged. It was scorching within, and flames surged as it began to refine the hunting ranking. Prince Yuan's tragic cry sounded from the tripod. Su Zimo's expression was cold, and he was unmoved as he continued to refine the hunting ranking. Su Zimo, Feng Zi, even if you two ants destroy my clone and dermic treasure, you won't be able to escape. This is the residence, and my maidservants are outside. Those are 3,000 Earth Immortal experts. Outside my residence is Green Cloud City, and it's heavily guarded. This is my territory. Just you guys wait. I have already come out of seclusion and will come personally. Once I arrive at Green Cloud City, I'll make life worse for you guys. Prince Yuanzhua's voice was already intermittent towards the end. Before long, there was no more activity. The hunting ranking had already been refined by the Hell Suppression Tripod and turned into a small ball of red molten metal. Su Zimo's expression softened as he let out a long breath. He activated his spirit consciousness and put away the hell suppression tripod. Fengzi was dumbfounded at the sight. She had not expected that this tumultuous assassination attempt would end in such an outcome. If Su Zimo had not returned in time, she would not have been able to assassinate him successfully. Even if she could assassinate Prince Yuan's clone, she would be controlled by his prime body's hunting ranking and killed here. Fengzi took out a handful of elixir pills from her storage bag and swallowed them before struggling to stand up. "I'm sorry, I've implicated you." Arriving before Su Zimo, Fengzi lowered her head slightly, feeling a little guilty. Although Su Zimo killed Prince Yuan's clone, his hell suppression tripod was exposed as well. Even if he killed a clone of Prince Yuan's, that was merely tantamount to offending a prince. However, helping Feng Cantillon escape was an unforgivable crime. The entire Great Gene Immortal Kingdom and even the various factions and experts of the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain might try their best to kill Su Zimo. No one could endure the consequences. Notwithstanding the fact that Su Zimo was only a Grade 1 Earth Immortal, even the Thunder Emperor who had escaped was not out of danger and his fate was unknown. "This has nothing to do with you. Don't think too much about it." Su Zimo shook his head gently. "Even if you didn't attack, I would have attacked to kill Prince Yuan's. You?" Fengzi raised her head in confusion. The reason why she wanted to kill Prince Yuan's was because there was an irreconcilable blood feud between the two of them. However, why would Su Zimo want to attack Prince Yuan's? "My spirit consciousness imprint is on his hunting ranking," Su Zimo said. "If I don't erase this Tao spirit consciousness imprint, my every move and location in the future won't be able to escape his senses." That was equivalent to him being spied on by Prince Yuan's the entire time. Su Zimo would definitely not tolerate such a thing. Of course, although he intended to get rid of this hidden ailment, he had not expected to attack Prince Yuan's the moment he returned from the Emperor's tomb. At that time, Fengzi's situation was critical and he could not care less. The development of the situation later on had indeed exceeded Su Zimo's expectations. He had not expected that the person in the prince's residence was only a clone of Prince Yuan's. A prince had a noble status and had many trump cards. It was the same for both Yun Ting and Yuan's. It was way too difficult to kill a prince. In the end, Prince Yuan's prime body controlled the hunting ranking and even wanted to kill the two of them. Left with no other choice, he could only summon the hell suppression tripod. Naturally, Su Zimo knew what it meant for him if the hell suppression tripod was exposed. However, he had no other choice. This was the prince's residence. If anything went wrong and alerted the guards, both of them would die here. Thankfully, this hall could be considered as the central hall of the prince's residence. The surrounding iron walls were extremely firm and soundproof. Although the fight was noisy, there was almost no activity outside. Right now, Su Zimo and Fengzi were faced with another problem. How were they going to escape from the heavily guarded prince's residence, or even Green Cloud County? They did not have much time left. Although they did not know where Prince Yuan's prime body was in seclusion, he would definitely arrive at Green Cloud City before long. At that time, it would truly be difficult for them to escape. Chapter 2024, Miraculous Trinity, Auspicious Jade. Chapter 2024, Miraculous Trinity, Auspicious Jade. The hall fell silent once more, and the atmosphere was a little stuffy. The current situation was clear. As long as the two of them left the hall, they would definitely be discovered before long. At that time, neither of them would be able to escape from the prince's residence, let alone Green Cloud City. Although the Black Tortoise Sacred Soul on Su Zimo's Hell Suppression Tripod could kill Earth Immortal experts, there were not only Earth Immortals but also Heaven Immortals in this prince's residence. There would definitely be perfected Immortal experts presiding over Green Cloud County as well. It was impossible for the two of them to fight their way out. Fengzi had a pitch-black paper umbrella that could turn her invisible. However, the pitch-black paper umbrella could only hide from the Mirage Eye. It was difficult for it to hide from the senses of Earth Immortals and Heaven Immortals. This was not the tin absolute hell where they could escape by turning into a butterfly or a flying insect. Any sudden appearance of any living being in the prince's residence would alert the guards. A moment later, Fengzi pursed her lips and said softly, "Actually, Yuan Zhua is not wrong. Even if we destroy his clone, we won't be able to escape." Su Zimo glared at the corpse of Prince Yuan's clone, and a glint flashed through his eyes as he murmured, "Not necessarily." "What?" Fengzi was stunned and asked, "You have a way to escape? I can give it a shot." Su Zimo nodded. As he spoke, his face and figure began to change. His muscles twitched and his body shone with a mysterious green glow. Fengzi looked at Su Zimo, who was not far away, with disbelief in her eyes. In a few breaths, Su Zimo's face gradually resembled Prince Yuan Zhua, and even his figure was changing. "This is myriad transformations?" Fengzi's eyes widened. However, she quickly denied that thought. The divine powers of transformation were the 36 transformations, 72 transformations, and myriad transformations. The 36 transformations was a lesser divine power that could transform into gravel, mud, water, and objects, turning into something lifeless. The 72 transformations was a greater divine power and could transform into living beings such as birds, beasts, flora, and insects. However, in order to transform into another person, one would have to release the supreme divine power, myriad transformations. After comprehending myriad transformations, one could transform into anything. From the Kuan and dragon races to insignificant specks of dust, everything could be done with a single thought. After comprehending myriad transformations, it was difficult for cultivators of the same cultivation realm to differentiate between reality and illusion. Some races could comprehend that supreme divine power without cultivating it. Legend has it that among the ape race, there was a type of six-eared monkey demon that was extremely rare. However, once their innate divine powers were awakened, they could master myriad transformations directly. In order to cultivate the Tao of assassination, one had to master divine powers related to transformation. As a top-tier assassin, Fengzi naturally knew everything by heart. Myriad transformations was a supreme divine power, and Su Zimo was only a grade 1 Earth immortal. Even if his essence spirit realm was high, it was far from the level of a heaven immortal, and there was no way he could release myriad transformations. Furthermore, Feng Zimo could not sense any divine power from Su Zimo. Fengzi looked at Su Zimo in a daze and realized that she could not understand this person anymore. Actually, even if it was anyone else, they would not know what was going on, let alone Fengzi. In Su Zimo's consciousness, the creation lotus platform spun slowly. The green lotus essence spirit sat on it and waved a jade-green divine jade weapon gently. That jade weapon was the Trinity Auspicious Jade, derived from the advancement of the creation green lotus to grade 10. Each time the green lotus essence spirit waved the Trinity Auspicious Jade, the jade weapon would release a mysterious glow that enveloped the green lotus essence spirit. As for Su Zimo's body, it would undergo some changes, and he would resemble Prince Yuanzhuo more closely. In the end, even his green robes vanished completely and were replaced by a brocade robe. It was the same as what Prince Yuanzhuo was wearing. The Trinity Auspicious Jade waved continuously. Su Zimo's brows, hair, and everything on his body were transforming into Prince Yuanzhuo. The Trinity Auspicious Jade was extremely mysterious and possessed unimaginable abilities. Previously in the Emperor's tomb, Su Zimo did not cultivate the cultivation technique imparted to him by the Black Tortoise Sacred Soul, the Prajna Nirvana Sutra on the third wall of the Hell Suppression Tripod, the Void Thunder Manual, or research the Soul Lantern. Instead, he chose to explore the Trinity Auspicious Jade. It was because there were too many unfathomable mysteries in this jade weapon that made one immersed and unable to extricate themselves. Before returning, Su Zimo had already sensed that the Trinity Auspicious Jade had such an ability. This was his first attempt earlier on, and he was still a little rusty. Therefore, it took a little longer. If he could control it completely, as long as the Trinity Auspicious Jade waved and swiped gently, Su Zimo might transform into another person right away. After a while, Su Zimo had already disappeared and was replaced by Prince Yuanzhua, who was standing on the spot. If Feng Zi had not witnessed this personally, she would not have believed that this Prince Yuanzhua was transformed from Su Zimo. What's going on? Feng Zi asked instinctively with a puzzled expression. Su Zimo smirked sinisterly and said in a frivolous tone, "Take a guess?" With the augmentation of the Trinity Auspicious Jade, Su Zimo's voice was no different from Prince Yuanzhua's. However, Su Zimo could only rely on himself to imitate Prince Yuan's attitude and tone. Feng Zi was stunned for a moment before shaking her head. "Your voice is very similar, but your expression and tone are still slightly substandard. However, that slight difference was usually difficult to notice." Feng Zi had a preconceived notion after knowing Su Zimo's identity, and that was why she could notice the difference. Su Zimo said, "This is just a transformation after all. It's unrealistic to want to be able to imitate his characteristics in a short period of time. If he wanted to imitate someone's characteristics, he would have to observe them carefully at a close distance for a long time." How long had Su Zimo known Prince Yuanzhua? Furthermore, he rarely had the chance to come into close contact with Prince Yuanzhua. It was already rare for him to be able to imitate the latter to this extent. "You want to pretend to be Yuanzhua and leave this place." When Feng Zi saw Su Zimo like this, she quickly guessed his intentions. "I can give it a shot," Su Zimo said deeply. "As long as I speak less, I should be able to hide from everybody without revealing any flaws." "Yes?" Feng Zi nodded. If Su Zimo did not say anything, he would look exactly the same as Prince Yuanzhua. There was no difference at all. Feng Zi seemed to have thought of something and suddenly frowned. "No, there is still a loophole. Your cultivation realm is different from Yuanzhua." The Trinity Auspicious Jade could transform Su Zimo into Prince Yuan's appearance and even change his voice. However, his cultivation realm could not be changed. That was indeed the greatest loophole of the plan. Su Zimo shook his head gently and analyzed calmly. "There's no need to worry. Given Yuanzhua's status, no one in Green Cloud City would dare to check his cultivation, let alone in the prince's residence." Chapter 2025. He's a fake. Chapter 2025. He's a fake. In the main hall of the prince's residence. The night was dark outside. More than 10 maidservants surveyed the surroundings and were walking over, discussing softly. "What's wrong with your highness? Why did he bring down the surrounding palace walls?" "I'm not sure. It's been a while, right? What else could it be? His highness must have taken a liking to that lass and is prepared to take her in. Who knows, by the time the palace walls are up, she might already be one of our sisters." A maidservant chuckled. Just as the maidservants were chatting and laughing, the door to the hall suddenly opened and 2 people walked out one after another. The man in front was dressed in brocade robes and was extremely handsome. There was a hint of cynicism on his face as he smirked with a sinister smile. The woman at the back lowered her head slightly. Her face was flushed and her hair was disheveled. Her clothes were torn and she followed behind the man obediently. The man and woman were Prince Yuanzhua and Tang Zi. The maidservants hurried forward and knelt on the ground one after another, greeting respectfully. "Greetings, Your Highness." "Yes?" Prince Yuanzhua nodded slightly and waved his hand casually. "You guys can leave first. I'm leaving the city. I have something to do." As he spoke, Prince Yuanzhua slapped his storage bag and summoned his carriage from within, sitting in it with Tang Zi. "Your Highness, don't you need us to accompany you?" A maidservant was puzzled and could not help but ask. "There's no need. I'll summon you guys if there's anything." Prince Yuanzhua said coldly. His spirit consciousness moved, and he activated the gigantic carriage, speeding out of the residence and disappearing from everyone's line of sight before long. Hee. After Prince Yuanzhua left, a maidservant smiled and said, "What did I say?" Although that Tang Zi has a stern expression and is cold all day long, she was still taken in by Your Highness. "That's right. From the looks of it, the battle in the hall earlier on was extremely intense. In the crowd, a maidservant frowned slightly and said thoughtfully, "Why do I feel that His Highness is a little strange today? What's wrong?" Another maidservant asked. "When he goes out usually, His Highness will definitely bring a group of us and make a grand entrance. Why is Tang Zi the only one brought today?" The maidservant was puzzled and shook her head. "I can't explain why, but I feel that there's something strange about Your Highness today. He's different from usual." "Don't worry about it." Another person said, "Perhaps Your Highness is up to something. Given our status, it's none of our business. Let's not think too much about it." True. The maidservants chatted for a while more before leaving. The Prince Yuanzhua that the maidservants saw was transformed by Su Zimo using the Trinity Auspicious Jade. Indeed, the maidservants who spent their days with Prince Yuanzhua could not see through Su Zimo's true self either. Su Zimo brought Feng Zi and swaggered out of the prince's residence in front of many guards before heaving a sigh of relief. As he had expected, the guards of the prince's residence did not even dare to look at his carriage, let alone stop it. Just like that, Su Zimo and Feng Zi destroyed Prince Yuanzhua's clone and left the heavily guarded Green Cloud City openly without encountering any obstacles. Su Zimo did not make use of the teleportation formation of Green Cloud City. If he used the teleportation formation to head elsewhere, he would definitely leave traces and it would be easy for Prince Yuanzhua to track him. But now that the two of them had left Green Cloud City, no one knew which direction they had escaped to, and their chances of escaping would be much greater. After leaving Green Cloud City, Su Zimo arrived at an uninhabited forest. Dissipating his appearance as Prince Yuanzhua, he removed his eye-catching carriage and fled with Feng Zi. Actually, if Su Zimo was separated from Feng Zi, with the help of the Trinity Auspicious Jade, he could transform into any form he wanted and Prince Yuanzhua would almost never be able to find him. The Trinity Auspicious Jade's ability looked similar to the supreme divine power, myriad transformations. However, in reality, in a certain aspect, the Trinity Auspicious Jade even surpassed myriad transformations. Myriad transformations was a supreme divine power. As long as it was released, it would consume one's essence spirit. This meant that one would have to expend their essence spirit to maintain their conjured form. No matter how condensed and pure one's essence spirit was, it could not last long. However, he would not have such considerations if he made use of the Trinity Auspicious Jade. As long as the Green Lotus Essence Spirit wielded the Trinity Auspicious Jade, he could transform into another appearance without expending any energy. The reason why Su Zimo did not separate from Feng Zi was mainly because the latter was still severely injured. If he were to abandon Feng Zi now, she would most likely be doomed once they were exposed. The night passed and day broke. A young and handsome man arrived outside Green Cloud City with a dark expression. He ignored the guards in the city and charged towards the prince's residence. "Prince Yuanzhua? Strange, why didn't Your Highness return in a carriage?" When the guards saw who it was, they found it strange but did not dare to stop him. "Your Highness, did something happen?" A commander of Green Cloud City hurried forward and asked in a deep voice. Scram! Prince Yuanzhua was in a fit of anger and wanted to return to the residence right away to detain Su Zimo and Feng Zi and torture them. He was naturally upset when he saw someone blocking him. With a wave of his robes, he struck the commander's heart-protecting mirror. Crack! The heart-protecting mirror shattered. The commander was sent flying far away and fell to the ground. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his expression changed. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Enduring the pain, the commander got up and shouted sternly, "Stop him!" Thereafter, the commander took out a warning talisman from his storage bag and tore it apart. The warning talisman exploded above Green Cloud City, causing the city to tremble as countless guards flew over. The surrounding guards gathered rapidly and blocked in front of Prince Yuanzhua. "How dare you stop me?" Prince Yuanzhua was already furious after his clone was destroyed. Now that the city guards dared to stop him, he revealed a shuddering killing intent. Many guards were a little afraid of Prince Yuan's gaze. Everyone was still at a loss. A guard could not help but ask, "Commander Yuan, what's going on? Why do you want us to stop His Highness Yuanzhua?" This? Humph. Commander Yuan glared at Prince Yuanzhua and sneered. "He's not His Highness at all. He's a fake." Ah. The surroundings were in an uproar. "Why do you say that, Commander Yuan? How could this be?" The guards were even more puzzled. Commander Yuan said in a deep voice, "As the commander of Green Cloud City, I'm a grade 9 heaven immortal. Our Highness is only a grade 7 earth immortal. How can he injure me just by waving his sleeves?" The power he released earlier on was clearly the power of a top-tier heaven immortal expert. The expressions of the guards changed gradually. Chapter 2026, Empty. Chapter 2026, Empty. More and more guards gathered and surrounded the place. Apart from Commander Yuan, the other commanders of Green Cloud City rushed over as well. When they saw Prince Yuanzhua in the crowd, their expressions changed slightly. "What happened?" a commander asked. Commander Yuan pointed at Prince Yuanzhua and said coldly, "This person released the supreme divine power of myriad transformations and actually took on the appearance of His Highness. He wants to infiltrate Green Cloud City with evil intentions." Fu. Prince Yuanzhua was so angry that he laughed. At that moment, he calmed down instead. Since Su Zimo and Feng Zi could not escape from Green Cloud City, there was no need for him to be anxious. The other guards of Green Cloud City sized up Prince Yuanzhua continuously and whispered. At the very least, they could not tell the difference on the surface. However, the spirit consciousnesses of the commanders swept across Prince Yuanzhua and their gazes gradually turned cold. Everyone knew that Prince Yuanzhua was a grade 7 earth immortal. The person before them was a grade 9 heaven immortal. His appearance, voice, physique, and expression could be disguised. However, his cultivation realm could not. Fellow Taoist, since we're at this point, let's reveal our true bodies. A commander glared at Prince Yuanzhua and said coldly, "Once we give the orders, you won't even get the chance to explain." Commander Yuan sneered, "Cut the crap with him. Suppress him first and use the soul-searching art on him to see what he wants." "You want to suppress me? You even want to search my soul?" Prince Yuan's expression was cold and his lungs were about to explode as he hollered, "How dare you? Get Jingyu to meet me." "Huh?" Commander Yuan sneered and mocked, "Why? Are you addicted to acting like our Highness?" Another commander could not help but laugh as well. "Your Highness's destiny dermic treasure is the hunting ranking. Take it out and let us take a look." "You guys." At the mention of the hunting ranking, Prince Yuan's blood chi surged and his eyes turned red. He clenched his fists so tightly that they cracked. The hunting ranking had already been devoured by the hell suppression tripod. How could he still have it? Ha 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 ha. When Commander Yuan saw Prince Yuanzhua like this, he burst into laughter and said mockingly, "Why? You can't continue acting, right?" "What happened?" Suddenly, a voice sounded not far away. Perfected Immortal Jing Yu walked over slowly through the void. After a year, Perfected Immortal Jing Yu had lost a lot of weight, and there was still a hint of worry on his face. In the past year, Feng Santian's matter had troubled him. "Greetings, County Governor." The commanders and many guards bowed. Prince Yuanzhua stood there with his head raised. His expression was cold, and he trembled in anger. "County Governor, someone pretending to be His Highness Yuanzhua has arrived in the city with evil intentions. Thankfully, I was careful and saw through his loopholes, stopping him." Commander Yuan stood out hurriedly and did not forget to claim credit as he recounted the matter. Others did not know the background of Prince Yuanzhua at all, and did not know that he had cultivated a clone. Therefore, they had preconceived notions. However, Jing Yu knew everything. "Your Highness." Perfected Immortal Jing Yu's expression changed when he recognized Prince Yuan's true body. He hurried forward and bowed, asking softly, "Isn't your true body in seclusion cultivation?" What happened to alarm your true body? The other cultivators were dumbfounded when they heard that. Their minds were in a mess and they could not react in time. The commanders were the first to realize the truth and knelt down hurriedly with terrified expressions. The other guards followed suit and knelt on the ground. Only Commander Yuan stood rooted to the ground, unable to accept reality. Was the person he mocked earlier on truly His Highness Yuanzhua? If so, instead of a meritorious deed, he had created a huge trouble. Your Highness, I was blind and did not recognize your true body. Please forgive me, Your Highness. With a thud, Commander Yuan knelt on the ground hurriedly and kowtowed repeatedly for mercy. Prince Yuanzhua harumphed coldly and glared at Commander Yuan. He kicked the latter away and scolded, "Bastard, don't you have eyes? Scram. I'll settle scores with you in the future." Right now, he was in no mood to waste time with Commander Yuan. Soaring into the air, he headed towards his residence. Perfected Immortal Jingyu followed behind. The other commanders exchanged glances and followed hurriedly. Your Highness, did something happen in the Emperor's tomb? Perfected Immortal Jingyu's heart skipped a beat as he vaguely guessed a possibility and probed. There's something wrong with Su Zimo? Prince Yuanzhua did not hide anything. He was the one who helped Feng Cantion escape from Absolute Thunder City. That bronze tripod is in his hands. Perfected Immortal Jingyu's heart skipped a beat. He had some impression of Su Zimo. He was the one who brought the green-robed scholarly cultivator back personally outside Glass City and sent him into the 10 absolute hell. Before long, Prince Yuanzhua and the others arrived at the residence and descended. When the many guards and maidservants in the residence saw Prince Yuanzhua, Perfected Immortal Jingyu, and the other important figures of Green Cloud City descend, they bowed hurriedly. Greetings, Your Highness. Greetings, County Governor. Prince Yuanzhua glanced at the extremely quiet residence and then at the hall that was surrounded by iron walls. He frowned slightly. Has no one else gone out from here? The maidservants and guards in the residence raised their heads and looked at Prince Yuanzhua with strange expressions before shaking their heads. Everyone saw Prince Yuanzhua leave with their own eyes. However, he naturally could not be considered as anyone else. Prince Yuanzhua looked at the sealed hall and sneered. I thought that you were nothing. To think that you're so scared that you don't even dare to leave this hall. Your Highness, what happened? Perfected Immortal Jingyu asked. Since things had come to this, Su Zimo and Tang Zi were trapped in the hall before him and could not escape even if they had wings. There was no need for Prince Yuanzhua to hide anything, and he recounted everything that happened in the hall. These two ants destroyed my clone and dermic treasure. I'll definitely torture them and make them suffer a fate worse than death. Prince Yuanzhua said hatefully. Your Highness. Right then, a weak voice sounded. A maidservant raised her head with a fearful expression and asked carefully, You mean to say that your clone is gone? What are you trying to say? Prince Yuanzhua frowned slightly and said sternly, Speak if you have anything to say. Don't stutter. The maidservant gulped and said with a trembling voice, Previously, the few of us witnessed you leave this place with Tang Zi. What did you say? Prince Yuanzhua was shocked. A Green Cloud City commander coughed gently and stammered, I think I saw it too. Your Highness left Green Cloud City with a woman. Prince Yuanzhua spun around and looked at the hall in front of him, shouting, Rise! Boom, boom, boom. The iron walls around the hall rose rapidly, revealing a slightly spacious hall that was silent and empty. When he saw that, Prince Yuanzhua's face turned ashen. Chapter 2027, Heaven Execution Guards. Chapter 2027, Heaven Execution Guards. Before Su Zimo left, he burned the corpse of Prince Yuan's clone completely. Apart from the mess after the battle, there was nothing in the hall. Everyone looked at the empty hall, and Prince Yuanzhua, who had an extremely dark expression at the side. They could roughly guess what happened. Someone crippled Prince Yuanzhua's clone and even escaped from the heavily guarded Green Cloud City openly right under everyone's noses. Prince Yuanzhua had suffered a huge loss. The surroundings were silent. Everyone lowered their heads and did not dare to look at Prince Yuanzhua. They did not even dare to breathe heavily, afraid that they would attract trouble. Prince Yuanzhua turned around slowly and looked at the maidservants kneeling in front of him. Gritting his teeth, he asked, "Speak. What happened?" The maidservants shuddered in fear. One of them mustered her courage and described everything she had seen. "Just like me?" Prince Yuanzhua raised his brow slightly with a cold, killing intent in his eyes. "Could it be myriad transformations?" A commander asked softly. Perfected Immortal Jing Yu shook his head and said, "That's impossible. Su Zimo is only a grade 1 Earth Immortal. How can he release a supreme divine power?" Commander Yuan coughed gently and said, "However, if not for myriad transformations, how could he have hidden from so many guards of the prince's residence in Green Cloud County to swagger away? Furthermore," before Commander Yuan could finish, a blood light flashed before his eyes and his face was splattered with warm, scarlet blood. The maidservants had their heads severed by Prince Yuanzhua and blood gushed out from their necks, splattering everywhere. "Your Highness, please spare me. Please spare me." The maidservants' essence spirits flew out and kowtowed repeatedly. Prince Yuanzhua's gaze was icy as he said coldly, "You followed me for so long, but you can't even recognize me. What's the use of keeping you guys?" Prince Yuanzhua extended his palm and slashed forward through the void. A cold light flashed. The essence spirits of the maidservants were also killed by Prince Yuanzhua on the spot. Prince Yuanzhua turned around and looked at Commander Yuan, who was not far away coldly without saying anything. Commander Yuan's heart skipped a beat. Unable to withstand Prince Yuanzhua's gaze, he knelt on the ground hurriedly. Even if Su Zimo can release myriad transformations, there must be flaws. Prince Yuanzhua said coldly, "Our cultivation realms are different. Aren't you very smart, Commander Yuan? Why couldn't you tell?" "I am not." Commander Yuan shivered and wanted to explain. However, all his words were stuck in his throat and he could not say anything. Perfected Immortal Jing Yu glanced at Commander Yuan and shook his head gently, sighing internally. If Prince Yuanzhua captured Su Zimo and Feng Ziyi today, this person might be able to survive. Now that Prince Yuanzhua had suffered a huge loss and had nowhere to vent his anger, one could imagine what would happen to this person. Prince Yuanzhua laughed and said, "Commander Yuan, you're truly amazing. You failed to stop the disguised me and instead, you stopped the real me. More than that, you even wanted to suppress me and search my soul. Your Highness, please forgive me." Commander Yuan kowtowed repeatedly and before long, his forehead was covered in blood. "You blind dog. Open your eyes in your next life." Prince Yuanzhua harumphed coldly. Suddenly, he reached out and slapped Commander Yuan on the head through the void. Bang! Brain juice splattered everywhere. Before Commander Yuan could make a single sound, he died on the spot with his essence spirit destroyed. The other cultivators present were silent as well. At that moment, Prince Yuanzhua was in a fit of anger. A single mistake could lead to death. Even perfected Immortal Jing Yu chose to remain silent. Prince Yuanzhua was still angry after killing a few people in succession. As a county prince who ruled over a vast territory with more than 100 cities, he had never suffered such a huge loss. His true body was in seclusion this time round and had initially intended to attempt to break through to the Perfected One realm. But now that his clone was destroyed, he came out of seclusion in advance. With his destiny dermic treasure crippled, his prime body was implicated as well. Breaking through to the Perfected One realm was extremely dangerous, and one had to endure the heavenly tribulation without any mistakes. Even if no one interfered, he might not have succeeded. Furthermore, he had suffered such a loss at the critical juncture of his breakthrough. Even his Dao heart was affected. For a long time to come, he would no longer be able to attempt to break through the barrier of the Perfected One realm. The fact that his clone was destroyed and his dermic treasure was crippled was secondary. The losses on the side of Prince Yuan's prime body could not be calculated at all. More importantly, the culprit, Suzimo, had escaped from his territory. One could imagine the rage in Prince Yuan's heart. Who else saw Suzimo leave? Prince Yuan's gaze lingered on the remaining commanders. Earlier on, a commander among them said that he witnessed Suzimo leaving the city with Feng Zi. The person shuddered when he heard Prince Yuan's question. Die too? Prince Yuan's voice suddenly sounded in his ears without any emotions. Before he could react, he felt a sharp pain on his glabella. The next moment, he lost consciousness and fell backwards, dead. In the eyes of Prince Yuan's, the lives of these Green Cloud City Heaven Immortal commanders were worthless as well. They were killed without hesitation. Prince Yuan's said with a dark expression, "Pass down my order. Kill anyone in Green Cloud City who saw Suzimo and Feng Zi. Be it guards or cultivators, regardless of their backgrounds or gender, kill them all." Only fresh blood could appease the rage in his heart slightly. The other commanders were shocked. Countless people would die in Green Cloud City if that order was passed down. The commanders exchanged glances and shouted without hesitation, "Understood." Thereafter, they turned to leave. If any of them hesitated, they might be killed by Prince Yuan's on the spot. In the blink of an eye, only Prince Yuan's and perfected immortal Jingyu were left in front of the hall. Hands behind his back, Prince Yuan's walked slowly into the hall and looked at the messy battlefield with an extremely cold expression. Perfected immortal Jingyu stood on the spot and closed his eyes for a long time before opening them and following quickly. Perfected immortal Jingyu said, "Your Highness, there's no need to be angry. Suzimo and Feng Zi's cultivation realms are limited. Even if they speed with all their might, they won't be able to escape far in a single night. I've already passed down the order to mobilize more than half of Green Cloud City's troops to search with all our might. As long as the two of them appear, we'll definitely be able to capture and suppress them." Without saying anything, Prince Yuan's flipped his palm and took out a talisman from his storage bag. He said coldly, "Lone Star, hurry and meet me in Green Cloud City." That line of words appeared on the talisman. Prince Yuan's rubbed his palm and the talisman shattered, turning into a streak of light that disappeared into the void. One of the commanders of the Heaven Execution Guards, Lone Star, a Grade 9 Heaven Immortal. The Execution Guards were divided into Earth and Heaven Guards. The Heaven Guards were all Grade 7, 8, and 9 Heaven Immortals, top experts of the Heaven Essence realm. They only listened to orders from the royal family of the Great Jin Immortal Kingdom. Even Perfected Immortal Jingyu was not qualified. When Perfected Immortal Jingyu heard that name, he nodded slightly. With a Heaven Guard commander around, the two of them definitely won't be able to escape. Chapter 2028, Blood Guidance Secret Skill. Chapter 2028, Blood Guidance Secret Skill. About 4 hours later, a cultivator in white armor arrived at the Green Cloud County Prince's residence with a saber hanging on his waist. The person had a cold expression and his face was sharp with defined edges. His eyes seemed to be shimmering with starlight, looking deep and mysterious. The commander of the Heaven Execution Guards, Lone Star. Apart from the difference in cultivation realm, there was also a clear difference in appearance between Heaven and Earth Guards. The Earth Guards wore the black gold feather armor while the Heaven Guards wore the platinum feather armor. It was even sturdier and had an even stronger defense. "Greetings, Your Highness Yuan's Hua." Lone Star arrived at the residence of the prince and bowed in the hall. Prince Yuan's was said in a deep voice, "I'm looking for 2 people. My clone fought with them here previously, and both of them are injured and bleeding." "All right." Lone Star nodded. Prince Yuan's glared at Lone Star and instructed solemnly, "Lone Star, even if you have to dig 3 feet underground, you have to find the 2 of them." Lone Star said, "Don't worry, Your Highness. As long as the 2 of them bleed, they won't be able to escape." With that said, he closed his eyes and his hands began to change as he conjured various strange dermic arts. His glabella shone with a divine light. "Condense." Lone Star waved his finger slowly and hollered softly. 3 drops of blood gradually formed on his fingertip in the hall. Lone Star sensed for a moment and said, "One of them is yours, Your Highness." With a single thought from Lone Star, one of the droplets of blood shattered into blood chi and dissipated into the world, leaving only 2 drops of blood. Guidance. Lone Star conjured hand seals and hollered softly, pointing at the 2 drops of blood. A strange power descended on the 2 drops of blood. The 2 drops of blood floated in midair and squirmed continuously, transforming into various forms. Before long, the 2 drops of blood formed 2 thin figures, a man and a woman. The features of the 2 figures were extremely clear. They resembled Su Zimo and Feng Zi. Perfected Immortal Jingyu nodded slightly and could not help but praise, "Commander Lone Star, you're getting more and more proficient with this blood guidance secret skill. How is it? Can you find them?" Prince Yuanzhua asked hurriedly. "Don't worry, Your Highness. We'll be able to locate them if we follow the 2 blood figures." Lone Star's spirit consciousness moved, and the blood figures formed by the 2 drops of blood flew out of the hall. "Hold on," Prince Yuanzhua suddenly said. Narrowing his gaze slightly, he stood on the spot in silence. Now that he could confirm Su Zimo's location, he was in no hurry. "Does Your Highness have any reservations?" Perfected Immortal Jingyu said, "If you're worried, I'll follow you as well. We'll definitely be able to suppress the 2 of them." "This is a rare opportunity." Prince Yuanzhua smirked and seemed to have thought of something as he muttered to himself with a glint in his eyes. Su Zimo and Feng Zi sped the entire way without stopping at all, getting further and further away from Green Cloud City. A mountain range appeared in front of them. From afar, the mountains rose and fell like a divine dragon that was about to soar into the skies, hence the name Soaring Dragon Mountain Range. "Let's find a secluded place ahead to rest." Feng Zi panted slightly with a pale expression. She was severely injured by Prince Yuanzhua and had expended a lot of energy speeding along the way without healing much. Su Zimo looked at the mountain range before him and frowned slightly, as though he was worried about something. However, he still nodded when he saw the extremely weak Feng Zi. After entering the mountain range, the 2 of them found a secluded cave to hide in for the time being. Feng Zi swallowed a handful of pills and took out 2 essence spirit stones from her storage bag. As she cultivated, she recovered her stamina and healed her injuries. After advancing to the Earth Immortal Realm, she could already absorb the Essence Chi and Essence Spirit Stones. The Essence Chi and Essence Spirit Stones was more condensed and pure than the surrounding Heaven and Earth Essence Chi. Naturally, its healing effect was much better. Su Zimo set up some formations at the entrance of the cave, making it even more secretive. He even engraved 2 distracting formations so that cultivators passing by would not notice the cave even if they saw this place. As Feng Zi was healing, Su Zimo was recuperating as well. However, his eyes were half opened and he was tense the entire time. He listened to everything and paid attention to any activity in the mountain range. Half a day later, Feng Zi's expression softened and her face turned rosy. She opened her eyes and looked at Su Zimo, who was on guard not far away. "You don't have to be too nervous. We've escaped for so long in Yuanzhua, and the others don't know the direction. They have to search a large area, and it'll take a long time before they can reach here." "Yes?" Su Zimo nodded and said, "That's indeed the case under normal circumstances. However, for some unknown reason, I feel uneasy. I don't know what went wrong." "We'll definitely be able to escape," Feng Zi said. "I'll recuperate for another 2 hours before we move." "All right," Su Zimo agreed. "Right, I still don't know why you saved my grandfather. Are you also from Remnant Night?" Suddenly, Feng Zi asked. Along the way, that doubt lingered in her heart. Feng Cantian was considered a taboo in the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain, and no one dared to mention or have anything to do with him. Moreover, no one would risk the immense danger to head to the 10 Absolute Hell and save him. "Remnant Night?" Su Zimo shook his head gently. "I don't know what is Remnant Night, nor am I someone from Remnant Night." "What is that?" "It's an organization," Feng Zi explained. "After my grandfather was suppressed, My master and father gathered the old subordinates under my grandfather and formed this organization to assassinate some cultivators of the great Jade immortal dynasty, especially the royal family. The name of Remnant Knight comes from two words in the names of my grandfather and master. These were initially extremely secretive matters, and Feng Zi would definitely not mention them to anyone. However, after knowing that Su Zimo had once saved Feng Cantion, Feng Zi naturally felt a sense of familiarity towards him. Actually, Feng Zi had a good impression of Su Zimo to begin with. However, she did not know Su Zimo's background, nor could she read him. Therefore, she had always been cautious of Su Zimo. But now, that trace of caution had vanished as well. However, after my parents died, Remnant Knight suffered a huge blow as well. We were encircled by the execution guards and various perfected immortals of the great Jade immortal dynasty and suffered immense losses. Feng Zi said, "All these years, Master was the only one hanging on. However, he has also grown old after so many years." A look of loneliness flashed through Feng Zi's eyes at the mention of the past. "You haven't told me why you saved my grandfather?" Feng Zi asked again. Su Zimo smiled and said, "It's nothing much. It's because I hail from the same place as the Thunder Emperor." Thunder Emperor? Feng Zi was slightly stunned. She had only heard her master mention that name once. It seemed to be her grandfather's Dao title in the lower worlds. "Ah, you're also from..." Feng Zi realized something and was about to speak when Su Zimo interrupted her. With a grim expression, he hollered, "Someone's here." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.